Welcome back to another edition of the Rodcast. We like to call it a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, woo! Football 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. And yes, we can say football. It ain't football season, but it is a holiday in the football world. NFL draft weekend just had the first round last night. The Longhorns represented, not as well as we thought, but Longhorn representation nonetheless. We'll discuss it. We'll talk about the Longhorns and their new landing spots and their new homes in the NFL. We'll also get to some of the big surprises in the NFL draft to give you our thoughts about the first round. We'll talk about the Cowboys and their moves in the first round. Actually, very complimentary of what the Cowboys did in the first round. Thought it was a very savvy trade down for the Cowboys. So we'll talk about that and dissect it. We'll dissect as much of the NFL draft as we can. Of course, that'll be the hot topic today. You do have the NBA playoffs that we'll get into, review that and preview the games coming up just a little bit later on the show. But of course, most of the show will be devoted to the NFL draft. We're draft heavy today, so let's not waste any time. You know what we're getting into. Let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He is he is the real MVP and one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. I'm not sure what he's paid, but he's damn sure underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It's my friend, co-host, and neighbor. We call him the Idealionaire. It's Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I just watched that draft coverage, and I think, thank God I'm not in that mass of humanity that was in Detroit. I do not understand why anybody. That seems like the most unenjoyable thing you could ever do in life is stand. Can you imagine being in the middle of that and having to go to the bathroom?
That's what adult diapers are for. I think they just really into it.
Imagine being in the middle of that, and then you see someone's face, and they just look at you and go, "Depends." Think of that, then. That's worse, Rod. That's worse.
No, it ain't my thing. Trust me. My brother went to the one in Nashville. He went to the one in Nashville. No, some people they're into it, man. It's basically it's a football festival.
It is.
It's football's version of a music festival. I don't go to music festivals either for that very same reason.
I don't do that either.
Some people are really into music festivals, and music festivals are like that.
That is, and it was just like a cover band playing, and then you wait 15 minutes, and then they'll tell you the next pick. Oh, it was.
No, you're right. That's a great point. I agree with you. I don't disagree with that at all.
I was just watching that. Yeah. I was watching it with a couple of friends, and we're like, why? Why would you? No, I have to be super mega VIP if I was there. Like
some people are really into it.
Do you have a chair for me? I'm not standing up for this whole thing.
not enough bathrooms around, not enough chairs, not enough seats. I'm with you, man. I agree, but I got a lot of friends. That's why I'm not gonna talk bad about it. A lot of friends who they live to go to the draft. Just go there and hang out. And I'm like, you can watch it though.
You can watch it on TV.
You can watch it. You can watch it on TV.
It's on like 7 channels.
You can't miss it. Man. Make it an event.
Let me introduce my co-host. He's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
I appreciate the intro as always. Yeah, man. Like I said, the NFL draft, it is an event, and they made it like an all weekend thing. Takes up the whole damn weekend watching the NFL draft. The first round itself, what was that? 4 hours? Was it a 4 hour?
It felt at least 4.
It was definitely 4. No, it was actually 4. Now, you're right. It might have felt even longer than 4, but it was actually 4.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, that's like I said, the NFL. That's why it's the number one TV show in America.
Yeah,
it's the number. This ain't even the actual TV show. This is just kind of one of the fan events for the TV show, which they do have now. Like you ever watch Bravo? You watch all the Bravo shows like Real Housewives and Below Deck and all these crazy reality shows they have. They are now called Bravo Celebrities, and they have like they call BravoCon, where they just bring all the reality TV stars out, and then people will just go to BravoCon. They go there just to meet reality TV stars, and you got to be like, really? Why do you traveled and took off work and left your family to go hang out with the reality TV stars? Yeah, because it's like I said, and the same thing is true for the NFL. Like it's basically they have turned this into a kind of a, like I said, it's a convention, it's a football convention, like a football festival, and it's brilliant. I'm not into it, but a lot of people
look. I get it. It's funny because you see the guys like the face paint and stuff, and you're like, that is just a level of
Seinfeld.
devotion.
Seinfeld episode.
I don't have
Right?
it, man. I don't have it. I don't have that level of devotion to
Yeah. That's
to
what you get for
anybody.
getting mixed up with a face
And let's
painter.
put it this way: when I was a kid, sure. When I was young, I get it. You're young, you can go out and do that. But yeah, these are fully grown men that are like,
hey, man.
they're doing it. Good for them.
Yeah.
I hope you find something you can enjoy that much. Good for you.
It's the best reality TV show going right now. That's basically what I can tell you. Because I'm with you. It's one of those things where I'm like, man, are we people that into it? But yeah, I know we're talking about. We'll get the numbers. I'm pretty sure next week, and we'll go over it. But I mean, it is one of the biggest festivals in America now.
It is.
If they don't call it that officially, but they end up getting like 250,000 people to come out there just to be a part of it. Just to be a part, and they got events and stuff like that, and a lot of celebrities that come out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it is pretty amazing. I'm with you. It's pretty amazing what the NFL does. All right, so we'll get to NFL draft stuff. I want to get Patrick's thoughts about all the NFL draft picks. Texans weren't a part of it. This will be the first day Texans can be a part of it. So not a lot of Texans talk. Sorry, Texans fan, but we'll talk about the Cowboys. Hey. The Cowboys, they are shrewd when it comes to the draft, man. They are you can say what you want, but they've been one of the best teams at drafting in the first round for a long time. I think they made another savvy move, trading back, getting more draft capital, what they get an extra third round pick essentially for trading back in that draft, and still got their guy, Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma. So we'll get into that. I thought that was a good move. But first, we'll talk about the Longhorns in the draft and where they went. And you could not ask for a better location for my man Xavier Worthy. It's like the football gods are guiding the start of his career to try to make him an early Super Bowl champion and potentially off to a Hall of Fame start.
And a Rod B prediction came true.
They traded for
him. That was a Rod B prediction.
Yeah, it's just he's an outlier. So a lot of teams, they'll just take him off the board completely. Like, nah, man, they don't like outliers.
Yeah,
they don't like outliers. They like teams. They like players that actually kind of fit a prototype or a certain idea projection of what they have for a player, whether it be the measure. That's why they do all the measurables. They want you to be within this percentile of this height and this percentile of this and that. And they really doesn't fit any of those. He's kind of an outlier, 166 pounds, but you got to go watch him. You got to go out there and watch him. And I think there are some teams that are going to figure he is perfect for our system. The fact that he's an outlier makes him perfect for our system. Now, the fact that he's an outlier for some teams, they take him off the board as a first rounder. Like, nah, man, he's a second rounder for us, or even a middle rounder, because we have certain parameters that we operate by when we're drafting this position. And some GMs go, no, I'm outside the box. That guy's a ball player. For our offense, he'll put us over the top and make us lethal. Kansas City is that offense. And F you, Buffalo, for letting it happen. F you, Buffalo Bills. Because I'm a Texans fan, damn it. We got to go through Kansas City, too. And now you just made it tough on everybody.
You did make it tougher on everybody,
in a cowardly way, traded out of that pick. I don't know what Buffalo's doing. They just traded out.
I think Buffalo made two good deals because they could still get their guy.
No, I'm mad at them just because they could have obstructed this somehow. They'll probably still end up getting a receiver, like you said, and getting draft capital. Trading down is always a good move. I'm just upset as a Texans fan that Xavier Worthy, as a Longhorn fan, I love it. As a Texans fan, I'll admit I think that's going to make them a lethal offense in terms of the vertical passing game again. They had become easier to defend because we had eliminated the vertical passing game because they took away Tyreek Hill, and basically you start putting the tops on the defense with the two deep safeties, and it made Patrick Mahomes. He's still the on his way to being the GOAT, but it made him less of a threat with that cannon of an arm. He was just he was a surgeon. We basically had we taken him from being that guy that can basically bomb you to death with those deep shots, and also surgically underneath just take you apart. Now they took away the deep stuff because no Tyreek Hill, the wide receivers are terrible, and teams are playing two deep safety. Now you don't even have to do that because the wide receivers don't even threaten you. So at least you don't have to worry about the deep threat. Now you just got to worry about trying to defend all the underneath intermediate short throws and him extending plays, which still obviously is indefensible because they won the Super Bowl again. But now you're gonna add the fastest human being in the history of the NFL Combine to Andy Reid's offense with Patrick Mahomes. Did y'all forget? I think we forgot that he's arguably the best deep ball thrower in the NFL.
No,
Best deep ball passer. Now we're gonna find out again. Now y'all must have forgot the old Roy Jones Jr. Line. Y'all must have forgot. It's about to happen, and it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be downright scary.
And and you're talking about that. It's also you had that and Hollywood Brown.
Exactly. 2-4-2s. Two of them.
Two guys that can go downfield. And if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm calling up Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown. I'm like, guys, let's just throw the football. I forgot what it feels like to throw the ball more than 20 yards and have someone catch it.
That's exactly
forgot what it feels like.
Just go to the park, me and you. Just us now. Just go toss it deep. That's exactly right. That's why Kelsey is so. That's why he's so pivotal and so integral, because he's only throwing short and intermediate routes. Kelsey doesn't go deep very often. What's the last time you remember Kelsey going deep?
He does it, but he doesn't do it a ton. Yeah,
it's very, very rare. He's working at short intermediate area, getting open. Think about now. And people were being able to double him and put a safety on top of him and try to roll coverage to him. Now, if you take the top off the defense with 2-4-2s on either side or either in the slot, that's going to open up things more for Kelsey.
Yeah,
the middle of the field going to be now. You got more field to defend and space to defend against the greatest tight end, by the way, in NFL history. So it's like the rich get richer. It's upsetting to me now. I love it as a Longhorn fan. Love it as a Longhorn. As a Texas fan, it's upsetting because who's the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs round? Who is everybody saying is the biggest threat right now in the AFC to the Kansas City Chiefs?
Right now, it's the Texans, right?
Everybody's saying that.
We still have Baltimore. There's still good teams in there.
Yeah, but the window. Then don't forget the 5-year window.
No, I got you. You're right.
Based on the 5-year window, Baltimore, honestly, they about to start disassembling that thing. Yeah. Based on the 5-year window, this is the last year for Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor there in Cincinnati. And you're already seeing issues, right? Got Trey Hendrickson requesting the trade, T. Higgins requesting the trade. That's what happens at the end of the 5-year window. You can't pay every damn body. All right. You got to pay your quarterback, and then you got to figure out what to do with the rest. That's why Kansas City's already done it well. They traded Tyreek Hill. All right, Tyreek Hill, you got to go. They just signed Chris Jones. They didn't want to do it, but they did it. They signed Patrick Mahomes to the most team-friendly deal in the NFL for a great quarterback. I mean, so they basically extended their window with the best head coach in the NFL, the second to third best GM in the NFL, best defensive coordinator in the league, best tight end of all time, best quarterback in. I mean, now you're about to add Xavier Worthy to the mix. It's like I said, it's disturbing.
No,
how good it can make.
Yeah, and I mean they knew that as well because they said let's trade up and go get him. Let's go get our guy. We waited long enough. He may be there at 30. He may be there at 32. But let's go ahead and move on up.
Yeah.
Let's go get him because we know what we can do with this. And
what if Shannon would have taken him? Shannon took Pearsall.
Yeah.
But I wonder if Shannon would have been like, "Nah, I'll take him. I'll take X-Man."
And that's they thought the Bills might take him. They thought that the 49ers might take it. Everybody there at the end of that first round was looking at wide receivers. So you say, and too, I know people were freaking out about that Minnesota trade earlier in the draft when they trade up a pick. And you're like, well, they get a phone call that says so-and-so is about to trade with us and take the guy you want. So do you want to make the trade and give us more than they're going to give us? And we'll trade with you. And because we'd rather only move down one spot than 2 or 3.
You're right.
So we'll make a trade with you if you can offer the same thing and we'll only move down 1 spot. And, the Bills could have called and said, hey, man, someone just called us and they're about to trade up to take our pick and they want Worthy. If that's who you want, just letting you know that the Jaguars, who they traded with for 32, maybe they said, and what would have been hilarious is if the Jaguars called them for 28 and they meant Xavier Legette. They just called him. They said they're drafting Xavier. I can't tell you which one.
That's good. No, man, it's you're right about that though. That's the sense of it. We won't know some of those stories until after, but I mean, we know this because and we'll get to the Horn headlines here and then come back to this draft discussion. But even with the Cowboys and their trade, I remember the interview with Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones, and they said there were like 4 deals on the table. For them, and they were kind of waiting to the last minute to see, kind of wheeling and dealing to see which one of those deals. So these deals come down to the wire, and it's all about information that you can gather. from other teams and about what other teams are going to do and what their intentions are. And that's why you really have all these big boards, but also you have to be able to kind of psychoanalyze another team's GM and their situation and go, all right, if I'm them, what would I do here? Because sometimes they're not going to tell you who they're going to draft if they want to trade with you. I mean, I think that's something you can do it because some teams may go, "No, well, if you're not going to tell me that I'm not doing it," or some teams may decide, "Hey, man, listen, I'll just let me know, and I just want to know who it is, just for my own sake before it's announced." So that we don't know. That's not necessarily a stipulation of trades. That's all about that's a gentleman's agreement about how much information they want to share. All right, so fascinating stuff. We'll get back to it. Let's get updated, educated, and informed first with the Horn headlines. Then we'll come back and discuss the first Longhorn off the board. We'll talk about Byron Murphy a little bit and his new home in Seattle. We'll also get to some of the other Longhorns who will be drafted this weekend. So we got a lot to talk about. First, let's hit the Horn headlines from my man Patrick Davis.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas softball got the win over Nichols yesterday, riding a 7-run first inning to a 10-3 victory. Reese Atwood failed to get an RBI in the game, so she will look to set the single-season RBI record for Texas this weekend against Iowa State, with games starting tonight. Texas baseball will travel to Norman this weekend to face the number 18 Oklahoma Sooners. Texas is currently 3 games behind Oklahoma in the Big 12, leading Sooners in the conference standings, and will look to make up that ground in an Avenger sweep in Austin last season. In the NFL draft, a record 23 offensive players were drafted in the first round, including 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks. The first defensive player was not selected until pick 15. Texas ended the first round with 2 players drafted, with Byron Murphy going 16th overall to the Seattle Seahawks and Xavier Worthy going 28th overall to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Cowboys were able to trade back to pick 29 when they selected Oklahoma offensive tackle Tyler Guyton. The biggest shocker of the first round came with the Atlanta Falcons selecting Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th pick after signing Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million contract in the offseason. Rounds 2 and 3 will be tonight, starting at 6 p.m. In the NBA, the Orlando Magic picked up their first win of the series, dominating the Cavs 121-83, while the 76ers were able to get a win over the Knicks behind Joel Embiid's 50-point outing. And the Nuggets all but sealed the series against the Lakers, winning Game 3 112-105 to take a commanding 3-0 series lead. Tonight, the Bucks will take on the Pacers with Giannis once again a game-time decision. The Mavs will look to hold home court against the Clippers, and the Suns will try to stave off the Timberwolves, taking a 3-0 series lead. And in Major League Baseball, the Astros could not get the hits to capitalize on a Verlander start and lost to the Cubs 3-1. And the Rangers were topped by the Mariners 4-3, who with the win took the lead over in the AL West. The Rangers begin their series with the Reds tonight, with pregame beginning at 6:30 here on the Horn, and that is your Horn headlines.
Thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Before we get back to the Longhorns, because we have obviously behind the burnt orange curtain coming up next segment, and we can discuss the Longhorns a little bit more in detail about where they went. I want to get to the Byron Murphy selection by the Seahawks as well. But let's talk about the Cowboys really quickly, because that was a savvy move. That was a really savvy move. Like I said, the Cowboys have been one of the more successful teams in the NFL in their first round draft picks. Cowboys traded down from number 24. The reason is same reason the Texans traded out of the first round. You got a certain amount of first round grades. You only got 19 first round grades, whatever it may be. You're drafting in the early 20s or mid 20s. Best thing to do is trade out of that pick and acquire more draft capital. Stephen Jones said they had fewer than 15 first round grades. Damn. They're a harsh grading system. So so fewer than 15 first round grades. And so all those players were off the board. And if that is the case, then you trade down to guys who you believe that have that type of ceiling. And I'm sure Tyler Guyton is still in that category as a guy who had a first round grade for the Cowboys. They're just saying a lot of the guys that were selected had them didn't. So they moved back to the 29th pick, picked up a 3rd round pick, which is for them money because they need more players. They need help at linebacker. They need help at running back. I mean, that could be a running back. That could be a center for them in the third round there. That could be a number of different things for the Cowboys because they got a lot of holes on their roster. So they get more draft capital, trade down. I always say the NFL draft is essentially a lottery. To win the lottery, you got to buy a lottery ticket. And the more tickets you buy, the better chance you got to win. That essentially is the NFL draft in a nutshell. The more draft picks you have, the better chance you have to hit on draft picks. Cowboys got more draft capital. And keep in mind, the Cowboys also have a lot of compensatory picks from 2025, and you can bundle picks for the next season, for the next year's draft, and trade up or trade around in this year's draft too. And the Cowboys have 4 of those compensatory picks. So they might consider trading some of that late draft capital for next year in this year's draft to move around, move up to get guys they like. So keep that in mind too. Gives them flexibility.
Yeah, no, I thought I thought the move back, once you saw that you were most likely still going to be able to get Guyton, you knew that he was a guy that, depending on who you asked, some people did have him a little bit higher than others. He's a little bit more of a project, but they've taken those guys on before, especially on the offensive line, and they've worked out for the Cowboys. They've done a pretty good job drafting offensive linemen throughout the years. So I think they saw him as somebody that they really liked and felt they'd get him a little bit later. So yeah, adding that 3rd round pick is huge to still get the guy you were most likely going to take that pick to slide back. We saw that a few times throughout the night where you saw someone take somebody and you thought, that guy's probably available in 4 or 5 picks for you. Why don't you try and trade back? And I know you can't always get that done in the time. And that also felt like, I remember when the Cowboys were on the clock, you're watching and that clock's ticking down. It felt like that trade was a last second kind of
midnight
thing to get
hour
it done.
kind of thing.
But it worked out. And look, on the Lions end, they get a steal of the draft too with that trade. So for the Lions, it works out for both teams, I think. Because the Lions are able to go up there and get Terry and Arnold in that pick.
And they need a DB.
They need a DB, and they got, either the best or the second best DB in the draft at pick 24. So I think for both teams, that was just a really good trade. I liked it for the Cowboys. You did need to add more draft capital. And whether you package it and move back up, or even if you take that 3rd and turn it into a 4th and a 5th, and you add 2 more players on your team to fill more holes, if you feel you got the 3 guys that you really wanted to be starters, and now you got to fill, you're trying to add depth. You want to get some linebacker help or whatever else you're trying to get. There's a lot more you can do. We know that the more picks you have, the more you can do in the draft. So I'm a fan of that move.
Yeah. And Tyler Guyton, 14 starts at right tackle. But remember, he was protecting Dylan Gabriel's blind side. So at least he's got some, because Dylan Gabriel's a lefty.
Yeah.
So remember, he was still protecting the blind side. So I don't know how that helps him transition, but they believe he's their left tackle of the future. And the Cowboys love versatility on the offensive line. Even Tyler Smith, who they drafted, can play inside and play outside. Jerry Jones did remark that there were 4 deals on the table when they accepted the offer from Detroit. So apparently they were willing and dealing. And Stephen Jones said the Lions were one of the last to call, to your point. They waited to the last minute. They gave them, and that's what you're doing basically. You're waiting to the last minute to give teams an opportunity to hit you up. They may be getting anxious, ready to make a deal, and that's why you wait to the last minute. So he said that the Lions were one of the last teams to call, and I guess they liked the deal that they got from the Lions there. Also, keep in mind here for the Cowboys, they have a really good track. I love what the Cowboys do in the first round, and you really can't argue with. That's why they're in the situation they're in right now because of CeeDee Lamb and Michael Parsons. Their first round picks work out. Especially when it comes to offensive linemen, as Patrick said. This is the 5th offensive lineman the Cowboys front office has drafted. This front office is drafted in the first round. Tyler Smith worked out for him. He was 24th overall. Zach Martin was 16th overall. I think we agree that worked out for him. Travis Frederick was 31st overall. That worked out for him. And Tyron Smith was 9th overall. Of course, that worked out for him. So usually when the Cowboys draft a O-lineman in the first round, they know what they're doing. They seem to have they seem to have a knack for that. So Jerry Jones said there were 4 players in play as well for that pick at the time when they traded down from 24 to 29. This comes from Michael Gilfin. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said they had 4 players that they were comfortable with drafting in that spot. Tyler Guyton, defensive end Darius Robinson, offensive lineman Graham Barton, and offensive tackle Jordan Morgan. And whatever. And Barton, Morgan, and Robinson all went during the wait to 29. So they were all the guys that 3 of the 4 guys that they liked or they were comfortable with drafting at that spot were already drafted by the time they got to the 29th pick. And Tyler Guyton was the guy that was left, but also a guy that they had up among the 4 that they wanted. Yeah. So when you drop, you got to give yourself options. You're like, all right, I'm gonna drop down, but in case it doesn't go my way, what's my contingency plan?
Exactly.
What am I comfortable with if it doesn't necessarily work out? Best case scenario.
Yeah, and I think they probably could have traded back a little bit further if they really wanted to and still gotten him. But at the same point, you don't want to risk, trying to go back. Because I think basically if you trade with the Panthers and got that first pick in the second round, the pick that the Bills made, you could probably gotten away with that one. But I think if you drop too far out there, then you might lose them. So I think it was a good move overall. And you just go ahead and take him there. I know there are people that will say that we rant on the Cowboys, that we say they don't do anything right. The Cowboys do plenty right, and I think this is a perfect example of it. They do plenty right. The problem is it's getting over the hump and getting to be that Super Bowl team, and that's kind of what you want to see in the rest of the draft. They continue to draft well throughout the next couple of days. Do they keep trying to fill needs, or do they try and take vanity picks and things like that? They did what they needed to do in the first round, and that's what we've seen so far. I think they did. The trade back was good, the pick was good. No notes.
How about this though? And a lot of Cowboys fans are upset with Jerry Jones, but I don't think this is a secret, guys. And it's if it is, it's the worst kept secret. One of the worst kept secrets in the NFL community. Jerry Jones said in his 30 years of interviewing draft prospects, the best interview he's ever had is Jonathan Brooks.
He
said he's the best. He said, quote, "We got him high on our board. He's a good player." And Will McClay was right next to him, and everybody remarked that Will McClay had a smirk on his face at the time. And every mock draft that we've seen that does a mock draft to the second round had the Cowboys taking Jonathan Brooks at that 56th pick. Their surgeon actually performed the surgery on Jonathan Brooks, so they got the inside scoop on the recovery and the rehab and how the surgery went. I'd be shocked if they didn't draft Jonathan Brooks in the second round. But it could just be a smoke screen. It'd be a great smoke screen though, if that's what they're doing.
It could be, but yeah, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like they feel pretty confident that he will be there.
Yes,
and that they can get him.
He's talking like that. He is, yeah. That's something you say after you draft him. You don't tell people before you draft him. You say that after I did it. After you're like, hey man, the reason he did it before. It's like, well, Jerry, you're losing leverage. Now teams know you're gonna draft the running back, but I guess it's not that big of a secret. Like I said, it's one of the worst kept secrets out there. But so I think I'm with you. I think they're confident he will be there because of the injury, that teams won't draft him as early as the Cowboys are drafted in the second round, and the Cowboys will. But man, what if a team does? That'd be wild. That'd be wild, man.
Yeah,
the Cowboys would. That'd be upsetting for the Cowboys. And then you would, to me, that would be a little bit on Jerry for not trying to keep his cards close to the vest. It's like, come on, man, can we reveal information like that before the draft? That's privileged information. It is.
It is, and I think
that know that.
and the reality is, I think there's not a team in the NFL that if someone called to trade up for it, or if they unless the team was just honestly going to take him themselves before, if anyone traded up to get Jonathan Brooks before Dallas, that I feel they would call up Dallas and be like, well, they're going to take your guy. We all know who you want to take. So,
want to make a deal? Yeah, how bad do you want him? See, exactly. You losing leverage right there. Now people like, you know what? Now, man, let's threaten Jerry. Let's just threaten him right now. Hey, Jerry, we want your boy, man. We love him. You really want him? We know you want him. We don't want to take him from. We like some other backs. See, exactly. You're thinking like a savvy GM in the league. Thank you. Now you just don't hit up Jerry. Jerry's desperate for this dude. Exactly. Go on, Jerry. Shut that down, man.
You think stuff like that. You think Casero's going to call him up at pick 42 and be like, I know, we're looking at him. We're just looking at him.
We're just looking at him. Hey, that's a good. Oh, man. Oh man,
hey,
yeah,
Jerry,
my chest hurt
Jerry,
this morning. That's good.
Hey Jerry, just a quick question. How good was that interview? Because we're looking at him right now. Just
Whoa, that is great. That is exactly. That's why you don't say stuff like that, because you'll get GM just that savvy. It's like, no, let's just see how desperate this dude may be. By the way, historically, and you pointed out in your headlines, this was a historic draft you had. And by the way, I predicted this. You had more offensive players drafted than you've had at any time in the history of the modern draft in the first round.
Four more. It wasn't one more. We said like 20 would be set the record.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be 21. It was not
23.
23 of them.
23 and 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks.
Unbelievable. Can we talk? You know what? I really got to rant about this. All right. You know what? I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it because I actually do want to go off about this a little bit. I'm going to go off about that a little bit because you're right. The 6 quarterbacks taken in the top 12 picks. I will say that Adam Schefter report was money, though.
Adam Schefter was
on the Adam Schefter report that came out about Penix.
If you were watching him talking before, Adam Schefter was on TV like, I'm trying to tell y'all something. Because he came on before, and he came on right before that pick, and he's like, I'm just letting y'all know. I'm just preparing you. Hey, everybody, get ready.
He tried to.
I don't want to break the bad news to you what's about to happen, but
he's like, I don't want to spoil the plot twist of the draft, but I got the script. And I know what's going to happen. Hey, and y'all about to lose it. I'm trying to, desensitize y'all to this.
Hey,
but yes,
city of Atlanta, no riots tonight.
Yeah, we got to get into that. We'll devote a whole segment just to that because we got to talk about the surprise, the plot twist of the NFL draft, which is the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm gonna tell you this because you're right. Because like I said, Adam Schefter came out with that report 2 days ago.
Yeah,
we talked about it. That he said Atlanta is looking at Michael Penix, and we even said that's ridiculous. That's way too high up. They're not gonna do that. Now maybe they'll trade down and go get Michael Penix. They like him. They're not gonna draft him that high in the draft. Wrong. So Adam Schefter, man, he had a hell of a draft weekend. They draft first round. I should say that. But anyway, we'll get to that topic. But we'll come up next. We'll get into behind the burners code. We'll get back to the Longhorns that were drafted specifically and talk about those guys later on. I do want to talk about the quarterbacks that were drafted and talk about, yes, the big surprise, the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to say this, though. I don't hate it. I don't.
All right.
You know how obsessed I am with teams stockpiling quarterbacks. I don't hate it.
I get that.
I don't hate it.
I
didn't say I loved it. I didn't say I loved it. But I don't. Most people hate this. They think it's ridiculous, incompetent. It's an ineptitude, the epitome of it. It's a dysfunctional organization. They don't know what the hell they're doing. I think there is some rationale behind it. There is an argument for it.
I get that.
I can make that argument, and like I said, that's why I don't hate it. If I want to remain consistent on these issues, especially the quarterback position, what I've always said: stockpile them. Ron Wolf, the Hall of Fame GM for the Packers, said I'd draft one every year if they let me. The issue is drafting them as high as you did.
Yes. That
makes it I think a very delicate issue. Because if you want to go with the Packers model, which I think they're trying to do, I'm not mad at that because the Packers model is a good model, but you're the Falcons. Right, it's like it's like a business trying to be Chick-fil-A. You ain't Chick-fil-A. You ain't got the nuggets, and you can't be closed on Sunday. You ain't got that model. So my point is, they want to be Green Bay. As I said, I understand it, but Green Bay drafts those quarterbacks in the late 20s, in the mid to late 20s.
It's quarterbacks
26 and 24. They draft them later.
They trade up for quarterbacks that fell.
For Michael Penix, had drafted him that high. You can make the argument that that's irresponsible to draft him that high. The value, but I understand the rationale and the thought process. I get, but in terms of the execution is off. Like you said, you should have traded down to get Penix. But the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size. But just like we said, there were teams trying to trade up to get Penix. That's what we found out. There were multiple teams trying to trade up to go get Penix. Seattle was trying to trade for would have been willing to trade for Penix. That's the word on the street.
Yeah.
The word on the street is there were multiple teams trying to trade to get Penix, and that's why Atlanta may have had to act. Just throwing it out there.
I get it. I fully get it. I just want Atlanta to know one thing. There's going to be a quarterback in the draft next year too. And guess what? The year after that, there will be more quarterbacks. There will always be quarterbacks. You don't need to take all of them in one year because you got to pay them all at the same time. I don't. It I you cannot spend you cannot spend $90 million like guaranteed money and say, well, hopefully we get a year out of Penix before we have to decide if we're picking up his 5th year option. That's what you're saying.
Hopefully, but I will say, if the Penix thing works out, because you can win now with Kirk Cousins, we know that. But if the Penix thing works out, you get him at a cheap price because the Green Bay always gets their quarterbacks cheap on that second contract.
Yeah.
Because if they work out, you get a franchise quarterback cheap. That's what I'm saying. Like that's if you,
I get the concept.
It's a long-term investment. The problem is if you're Terry Fontenot, you might not be there to realize
you're not going to be there.
But the Green Bay Packers, because they have stability and they win, they actually those GMs stick around and they can enjoy the return on that investment later on. Terry Fontenot, you're with the Falcons, you might not be there to be able to enjoy this. So I'm with you. It's a long-term investment that usually GMs don't make because GMs are thinking, no, I got to win now. I got 3 to 4 years to win. And if I don't do it in the end, I'm done. Terry Fontenot's making a decision for like 6, 7, 8 years from now.
Terry Fontenot's trying to double down on the, I want to pick my quarterback. Hey guys, my quarterback is my quarterback and I'll go win with him. I'm sorry, Fontenot. Your quarterback's Kirk Cousins. Michael Penix ain't your quarterback.
He's trying to extend his window.
No, you pay Kirk Cousins. That's your quarterback.
That's your guy. You don't get. Yeah, he's trying to say, no, I got 2. They're both mine. Like, no. That may be savvy though. That's a good point. Everybody's like, no. Hey man, hold up. They both mine. So you gotta let me realize the end of both of these contracts. Like, nah, man. Nope. You might not see the end of the Kirk Cousins deal. So that I agree with. And that's why it's a weird deal. It's like, bro, why are you making decisions for the next GM at the Falcons? Yeah. Make decisions for your job right now.
Well, look, maybe Fontenot can get him for like a 6th-round pick when he gets fired in 2 years and he's at a new job.
Exactly. That's the whole point. All right. It's a good conversation. Lots of good conversations about the draft. All right, we come back. We'll discuss some Longhorns and where they landed and these landing spots. What do they do for the future prospects and future careers of these, the future pro careers of these Longhorns. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis here. We all love living in the city of Austin. What's not to love? And if you're a homeowner in the city of Austin, that's good news for you because you actually own some of the most valuable real estate in America. The only downside is that property taxes are also some of the highest in the state. And many of my fellow Austinites, like you, are overpaying on your property taxes. And OwnWell right now can help you protest unfair property taxes. I was actually overpaying on my property taxes as well until I found OwnWell. OwnWell can save you hundreds, potentially thousands on your property taxes. OwnWell believes that when it comes to paying property tax, you should only pay what's fair. And it only takes you 3 minutes to sign up. There are no upfront fees or costs. OwnWell will save you money or it's free. That's a guarantee. If you don't save, you don't pay. And 86% of OwnWell's customers save on their property taxes. OwnWell handles everything from start to finish. They deliver an average of $1,100 in savings to their customers. They provide local tax experts backed by cutting-edge technology and the best in-class customer support available. So what are you waiting for? Save money on your property taxes with OwnWell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com. That's OWNWELL.com, ownwell.com. About the two Longhorns who were drafted in the first round. You had Byron Murphy, who was taken by the Seattle Seahawks at 16, the first Longhorn that was taken off the board. And actually, Byron Murphy was I believe, the second defensive player taken off the
Yes.
board.
Yes.
Right after Latu, the defensive end from UCLA. Yeah, he had a run of 14 straight offensive players that were taken. 6 out of the first 12 picks were quarterbacks, which we'll get back to that
Yes.
conversation.
Which the record for most offensive players taken at the beginning of the draft? 7. They doubled it. They doubled it.
Doubled it. That is nuts, man. It was crazy. I didn't expect that. I knew there would be a lot of offensive players drafted. As like I said, I predicted that'd be a record, but I didn't know they go 14 straight before they drafted a defensive player. So, yeah, and Byron Murphy, second defensive player off the board, and it was surprising because Seattle, hell, they might have went quarterback if Michael Penix was there, but he wasn't. That's one of the positions. But there were other positions that they needed. There were a lot of Seattle Seahawks analysts that talked about that other position of need, of higher priority for them. But this was an identity pick for Mike Macdonald. He's a defensive-minded guy. He's one of the best defensive minds in all of football. Remember, he was a defensive coordinator, for Michigan when Jim Harbaugh was there, and the brothers were kind of, swapping defensive coordinators, and then he went back to the Ravens to be their defensive coordinator. And he wanted to pick, and first of all, it makes sense to draft a defensive player. I want to say that everybody in the division in the first round for the NFC West drafted a defensive player. Oh no, the 49ers drafted offense, and with the other pick for the Arizona Cardinals, they drafted, of course, Marvin Harrison. But a lot of defense being drafted in that division just because you have so many great offensive minds. And I think that's what Seattle wants to build first. You got to go against Sean McVay. You got to go against Kyle Shanahan, and a defensive tackle that's a dual threat as a pass rusher, but also a run stuffer makes sense. He'll probably likely play the 3 technique there, and he translates to be, a guy that can play a 3 technique and be an every down player for Seattle. And it shows you they want to build around him as a foundational piece to start building that defense. He hadn't got a lot of pieces around with that defense. One of the first pieces Mike Macdonald brings in is Byron Murphy. So he's a 5th, I think, defensive tackle drafted in the first round for the Longhorns. Quite an accomplishment for Byron Murphy, considering I think this guy was a 3-star coming out of high school. And he grinded himself and worked his way into being a freak athlete, but also a first-round pick because he initially didn't have those kind of prospects and upside.
No, and I mean, it's, the moves he has and the moves that he learned and and just kept adding more and more pieces to his arsenal. I think everybody sees it and thinks that he's not even a finished product yet because he continued to get better and better. So you don't think, there's never been a plateau yet in his career. You see him continue to get better. You can say, well, his future is extremely bright. He plays in one of those positions that there's just not a lot of guys in the NFL that can do what those top level defensive tackles that can pass rush can do. And so if you're able to get one of those guys that they can become a centerpiece, and, that's when you talk about an Aaron Donald and Chris Jones and guys like that. That's what people are, some people think of Byron Murphy, that he could be one of those guys. And those are Super Bowl champions that I'm naming, and guys that are huge pieces where when there's 14 straight offensive players taken and everybody's worried about offense, doesn't matter if the quarterback's on his back.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I've been saying for like a year now, defensive tackle is now a premium position in the NFL based on the pay. Like half the defensive players, highest paid players on the defensive side of the ball are actually defensive tackles. So that's where you draft premium positions, is in the first round. So it makes perfect sense drafting him. And I'm with you. I think he projects to be the centerpiece and the foundational piece of their spine of that defense, the central nervous system of the Seattle Seahawks. So that's quite the compliment from one of the best defensive minds in football, Mike Macdonald. So, and also the Rams run a lot of power gap schemes, which are interior runs. You'll be going up against them twice a year, and you're going up against these really good running backs and running games. Kyle Shanahan has the best zone running scheme in NFL history, the Shanahan zone blocking scheme. And then you have Sean McVay, who's adopted that, but then put his own spin on it, running a lot more power gap schemes. And you better make sure that, you got somebody at the point of attack that's stout. And that's exactly what Byron Murphy is. So good for Byron Murphy. It's a good spot for him. And I don't know if there's a better spot for any first round pick than Xavier Worthy landing with the Kansas City Chiefs. And here's what he's going to bring back to the Kansas City Chiefs. Because I kept these numbers because this was from my Super Bowl prep when I was doing prep for this past Super Bowl, which I got a chance to attend. So had a good time there. But in doing prep for it, one of the things that I kept reiterating over and over again was how different the Kansas City offense was from their initial Super Bowl appearance with Patrick Mahomes. You go back to 2019 and from 2019, basically 2019 to 2021, this is pre and post trade for trading Tyreek Hill. They are arguably the most efficient vertical passing team in the NFL. In 2021, Patrick Mahomes was 5th in deep passing yards. He had a 113 passer rating on deep passes, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. In 2019, that was actually post Tyreek Hill. In 2019, he has 15 touchdowns on deep passes. This is 20 yards or more down the field, 3 interceptions. He was first in deep ball passing yards with over 1,300 passing yards on deep passes. Him and Josh Allen were pretty much known around that time as the best deep ball passing quarterbacks in the NFL. And after losing Tyreek Hill over time, we've started to see, that offense change a little bit. Over the last 5 seasons, the average length of Mahomes' touchdown passes have decreased from 17.3 yards. So he was at 17 yards for his average length of his touchdown passes in 2019. And in 2020, that number was at 13. In 2021, it dropped to 8.5. In 2022, it was 4.5 yards was the average length of a Mahomes touchdown pass. In 2023, guys, it was 3.9 yards was the average length of a Patrick Mahomes touchdown pass. Let that sink in for a second. If you go look at offensive touchdowns on plays of 10 plus yards, Kansas City had 7 last season. Guys, that was 31st in the NFL, ahead of the Carolina Panthers with 6, and right behind the New York Jets. That's how bad they were. And I say bad, they won a Super Bowl, but how if you look at it, that's how short and intermediate their passing game had become. The lack of verticality in their passing game. And if you look at total distance, air yards of all their 2023 touchdown passes combined, it was 101 yards. That was 30th in the NFL, ahead of Carolina, 97, and the Jets at 36. Those are the 2 worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And then you have Patrick Mahomes right there with him. That is how castrated this offense has been in terms of the vertical passing game. And now you're about to add Xavier Worthy to that mix. And you're also about to add, you already added Hollywood Brown, but you're about to add now the verticality back to the offense. That's the scary part. That's the scary thing. And the truth is, Xavier Worthy actually he's not a great deep ball in terms of productivity. We haven't seen, he's not a great deep ball receiver based on the productivity in the film, but a lot of people believe that's on Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
And not on Xavier Worthy.
No, they're trying to bring that Big 12 football over there to Kansas City. Man. I mean, you go Texas Tech quarterback, Oklahoma wide receiver, Texas wide receiver.
Oh man.
Yeah, Big 12 deep balls.
Come on, man. D-Boss. It's coming back to Kansas City. And we hadn't seen, they've been winning Super Bowls without it. Now it's going to be even more dangerous. So, all right, we'll get back to some more of that conversation when we come back. We got the big fat poll today, and we have the musically themed day of the week. We know it's a 512 Friday. We'll come back and learn more about that right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn.
Back on the Rodcast on a Friday morning, a 512 Friday morning where we play local music. You can go check out around town this weekend. This is The Point. The Points are playing Saturday at Sam's Town Point down there in South Austin. You can go check out The Point. Little groovy little band that you can go check out. Be a fun show on a Saturday night. Check out there. Let's get to the big fat poll of the day. And of course, it's going to be draft related because we are in draft season. Text lines open 512-447-3776.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the horn.
All right, big fat poll of the day. It's a first round, so you don't get a ton of, we're not talking big steals. And oh my God, I can't believe this guy fell this far. But who was the biggest steal of the first round? So who do you think was the biggest steal in the first round of the draft? The one that you were surprised a team would get? Real easy. Both DBs that were drafted in the first round kind of fall in this category because they both fell pretty far. Quentin Mitchell, 22 to the Eagles. Terry and Arnold, 24 to the Lions. Pretty big. You could say Byron Murphy. You want to say Byron Murphy was a top 10 talent that because they kept going offensive players falls all the way to 16 with the Seahawks. Or you can say Dallas Turner. A lot of people said Dallas Turner was the best defensive player in the draft. He was number 17 to the Vikings. Who do you think is the biggest steal of the first round? Let us know on the text line.
Yeah, I like the Quinion Mitchell pick. I said that. I think he's the best corner in the draft, and of course, Philly would get the best
every time. You just see him coming up, and it's like as it's going, I was like, Texans, just straight up Texans. Just don't let him do it again. Don't let him do it again.
He might have tried.
I'm sure he called, and they knew what the Texans wanted, and they were asking for a lot for it. I guarantee there were those phone calls, and I'm sure I would assume they called the Cowboys too.
I bet. Like I said, I hope he did, because that would have been perfect for them. Either of those spots the Cowboys were at, 24 or 29, they could have traded. But I think ultimately, if they didn't like somebody, I wonder how many first. I haven't seen the report of how many first round grades the Texans had. I don't know if Casare's going to let that get out. The Cowboys don't care. They let that stuff.
Well, but out. I mean, do you have 2 DBs in first round grades?
That's why I say I wonder how many. That's a great point. Yeah, true that. I don't know how many DBs they would have had among that group. That'd have been more information you need to know. Yeah. But Casario, he said he's been the most active GM in the NFL. I bet he tried to trade back into this first round, like you said, because of all the defenders that dropped. 14 straight offensive guys.
14
he pushed all the best defensive guys toward the end of the back round of the draft.
No, right. I mean, and that's you can still look. Would you appreciate, Rod, if the Texans picked the first white cornerback since you knocked one out of the league?
I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to that at all. Cooper DeJean, I'm not opposed to that. I think he can play corner, and if he doesn't work out at corner, he can just move him to safety. He's such a phenomenal athlete. He could play anywhere in the secondary.
Yeah,
if you need him to.
No, and that's. But I know that it would be fun for you to root for. I know it's been a mission of yours to bring the white cornerback back.
Yeah, no, he is legit. Like I thought he was going to be I thought the 49ers were going to try to take him.
I thought
they need DB help, and I thought he may be a pick for them if they ended up getting receiver Ricky Pearsall. But to your point about Quinion Mitchell, though, man, he ran a 4.33. How about this? He did not commit a penalty last year and had just one pass interference call over the last 2 seasons. 6 interceptions in 27 games, 44 PBUs in those 27 games too. Highly productive. I was a huge fan watching them. I knew there were none of the teams that I follow or that we follow were going to be able to pick him, but I guess we can talk about him because he's going to be playing the Cowboys twice a year.
Yeah. He will be. Quinion Mitchell is going to be a great player.
First time the Eagles have picked a corner in the first round since 2002.
And man, he just fell right to him. Didn't have to do nothing about it. Fell right to him. So let us know, who do you think was the biggest steal of the first round? Let us know on the text line 512-447-3776.
You mean it's not Michael Penix? You mean it's not Michael Penix Jr.?
I mean, Michael Penix Jr. is stealing something. I don't know.
He is, because he's gonna be just sitting around chilling for a couple of years, just collecting checks and learning the game. That is pretty cool for us. So basically, he gets to be a quarterback. He's basically a quarterback student for the next 2 years, and he's gonna get paid top 10 money to do it. God is good. Look at God. We'll come back. Yeah, this is a guy that's had injuries, like stuff like that. So we'll get into that story. We know it's a big one. Matter of fact, that might be Rod's round today, since we all want to rant on that a little bit. We come back, we'll get back into the NFL draft discussion. There were some surprises in the draft. That was the biggest surprise. We'll get into some of the other headlines coming out from the NFL draft, records set as well, and discuss the second round. You only had 2 Longhorns taken in the first round, so the expectation is you're going to have more Longhorns taken, maybe even one in the second round, and it might be close to home. We'll discuss that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis, coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a 5-1-2 Friday. Actually, it is a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, woo! Football 5-1-2 Friday edition of the Rodcast. And yes, we say football because we are in the midst of a football weekend because it is the NFL draft weekend. So we're heavy in the NFL draft discussion, but also a 5-1-2 Friday, which means my man Patrick, the Idealionaire, he plays jams from local bands and artists that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who we jamming right now, Patrick? This actually is jamming. I like this.
Yeah, this is Brother Thunder, and they are playing Saturday at the Skylark Lounge.
Man, Brother Thunder. I wonder who came up with that name. I'm not gonna lie. Sounds like adult entertainment name. Brother Thunder. I like it though. That's a good name. All right, there you go. So my man Patrick always hooking us up on a 5-1-2 Friday. We will get back to NFL draft discussion. My man Xavier Worthy lands with the Kansas City Chiefs. They trade up to go get Xavier Worthy, like Black Stradamus predicted. So I'll give myself some credit there. Also, you got Byron Murphy landing with the Seattle Seahawks. Brand, a new coach in Seattle, a defensive-minded coach, decides to build the defensive culture there around Byron Murphy. That's interesting. And that's something I'll say too, that both of these guys drafted in the first round have a tremendous opportunity, because Byron Murphy is going to be the centerpiece that they build that defense around. And Mike McDonald's known as one of the top defensive minds right now in all of football, like I said, college or pro. And he chose Byron Murphy. He's like, no, this is the guy that this is my first pick as the head coach of this team. My first time as head coach, this is the guy. And a lot of, like I said, a lot of Seattle Seahawks analysts and people that cover that team said it wasn't the express need. It's one of them, but there are other needs you could have put as a more urgent needs on that roster. But this feels like an identity move for them, kind of a culture setting move for Mike McDonald. And he's, like I say, he's a defensive minded guy. And so they're going to build that defense, a lot of it around Byron Murphy. It's one of his first big investments as a head coach. And then in Kansas City, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, there's a great saying by Bill Parcells. He's like, when you start talking about retirement, you're already retired. It's just a matter of time. You've already started talking about it, discuss it, making it plans. Dude, you're already retired. Travis Kelce's got one foot out the door.
Yeah.
He's pretty close. And now if this Taylor Swift thing continues to, go in the direction we think it is, that they're going to get married. I'm not saying it's going to be for life, but they'll end up getting married. And then their kids, she wants kids, biological clock, that kind of stuff. And him and his brother, I've already talked about plans, and apparently networks have already spoken to them about doing a simulcast, kind of like the Manning cast, and they can make a ton of money that and during their podcast. And he's talked about the injuries that he's accumulated over the years and how they're starting to pile up. He's got one, and he's already established himself as the greatest tight end in NFL history, arguably. Got the Super Bowls. There's a good chance they go 3 in a row, that he proposes to Taylor Swift on the field and retires the next damn day, just like his brother, who just retired, by the way.
Yeah.
And we know it's close. We just don't know if it's going to be this year or next year. It's going to be close, right? We know the Travis Kelce retirement's coming. And after that, the entire complexion of that offense is also going to change. They're going to have to reinvent what that offense is. And Patrick Mahomes, of course, it's going to be based around him. But in terms of the passing game, and right now, if you're looking at potential pieces to build around, once Travis Kelce decides that he's leaving, right now the biggest investment would be Xavier Worthy. If he works out, they'll build a lot of that offense around him. That also is a great opportunity for him, because if you are now linked with Patrick Mahomes, the GOAT, and Andy Reid, a GOAT as well, it's only going to push your opportunity to be in a conversation to be a great receiver in the NFL, if not one of the best receivers in the league. Tremendous opportunity.
And we know Andy Reid did just re-sign, but he is also he's also close to the retirement of he's talked about that. So again, we could say they could win 3 in a row, say we just did something, spectacular, and good night. And
I agree.
That's right. It could very, very well be that, or they could, hopefully the Texans win the Super Bowl. We all know that. But if you say they don't win it, then it could be a run it back, and we'll try and get it back this year and win one more, and then but you don't figure it's going to be more than 2 or 3 years that they've got left of this whole configuration. So you are looking towards, by the end of Xavier Worthy's rookie contract, it will most likely be an offense either based around him or completely different offense.
Yeah, because that would mean that he did not perform up to the level of expectation, and they've like, all right, let's veer off in another direction. And Brett Veach, who I think is one of the top 3 GMs in the NFL, I'm glad he traded for Xavier Worthy, because that tells me they are going to mold a lot of the offense around. That's what they do. They do a really good job, and Andy Reid does a really good job. But you're right. The point about Andy Reid and him moving on in the next couple of years is also an astute one. And I think Brett Veach is so savvy. I would not put it past him to already have a plan in place, a succession after Andy Reid leaves. And you know what I think it is? No BS. I think it's recruiting the best offensive play calling coaches in the league, because the pitch is going to be, and I think he's going to try to trade for him. And I think he'd be willing to trade a lot for him. I think his pitch is going to be, I got Mahomes. Do you want a Super Bowl? We can win it with you. Come coach for Kansas City. I'll make the deal happen. I'll trade for you. Because all they really need is a coach. Because the thing that's really irreplaceable, no matter what you draft around Patrick Mahomes, you can't replace Andy Reid.
Yeah,
he's the best play calling offensive mind in the NFL. So if I am Brett Veach, I might be trying to trade for a Sean McVay, or trying to trade for, even go get Kyle Shanahan and say, hey man, you ain't winning it as long as Mahomes is in the league. Why don't you come on over here? And why don't you pull a Kevin Durant and just come on over here with us, and then we just be like the Avengers and just take over this damn thing. I would go trade for a great offensive mind if I was him.
So you're not saying they're not going to go back to the Bieniemy train?
No. Honestly, Spagnuolo could do it if you could get another coordinator that you trust is as sophisticated as Andrew. Hell, maybe they'll go after Sark. I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe they'll have Spagnuolo be the head coach and like, Sark, you want to come be the OC for Kansas City and work with Mahomes? And Sark already won a national title here in Texas and go, yeah, you know what? Why not? I'm going to start that. I have no idea, but I think that would be, you got to already have a plan in place, because I'm with you. That Andy Reid thing, don't let it sneak up on you. And then don't you waste those years of Patrick Mahomes while you're trying to figure it out. No, I don't figure it out. You better get it done. And I think you can, like I said, I think you can trade for a coach. I mean, what they trade for Sean Payton, how much did that cost him? Like there's a first round pick was in there.
There's definitely a first in there. Yeah, there was a couple of picks, I think.
It'll cost you, but think about it. If you go get one of those great offensive minds, you can guarantee you can maximize Patrick Mahomes' skill set. You're not going to replace Andy Reid, but at least you'd give yourself the next best option. Just because you're drafting draft picks, and you're not going to draft high, you will always be drafting bottom of the first round.
Yeah,
is that worth it, man? Trade that first round. It's basically a second round pick anyway, and go get you the best play calling head coaches in the league. Go get them.
And we know that because they were the 32nd pick, because they were the 32nd best team, according to Jerry Jones.
According to Jerry Logic. Jerry Logic worked out well though in the first round of the draft. All right,
he did good. He did good.
It did good. All right, there are lots of storylines in the NFL draft. That was just one of them. We'll get back to that. Let's first hit our horn headlines, get updated, educated, and informed on the top stories of the day. We'll get into Rod's rant. I know it feels like every segment is a Rod's rant, but we'll talk about the quarterback surprise, the plot twist of the NFL draft, which was that Michael Penix draft pick by the Atlanta Falcons. Adam Schefter said it was going to happen a couple of days ago. Nobody believed him. I didn't believe him either. Turns out Adam Schefter once again proving his worth. So we'll get to that in Rod's rant of the day. First, let's get to the horn headlines from my man Patrick Davis.
All right, your horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas softball got the win over Nichols yesterday, riding a 7-run first inning to a 10-3 victory. Reese Atwood failed to get an RBI in the game, so she will look to set the single-season RBI record for Texas this weekend against Iowa State, with games starting tonight. Texas baseball will travel to Norman this weekend to face the number 18 Oklahoma Sooners. Texas is currently 3 games behind the Big 12 leading Sooners in the conference standings and will look to make up that ground and avenge a sweep in Austin last season. In the NFL draft, a record 23 offensive players were drafted in the first round, including 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks. The first defensive player was not selected until pick 15. Texas ended the first round with 2 players drafted, with Byron Murphy going 16th overall to the Seattle Seahawks and Xavier Worthy at 28th overall to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Cowboys were able to trade back to pick 29, where they selected Oklahoma offensive tackle Tyler Guyton. The biggest shocker of the first round came with the Atlanta Falcons selecting Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th pick after signing Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million contract in the offseason. Rounds 2 and 3 will be starting tonight at 6 p.m. In the NBA, the Orlando Magic picked up their first win of the series, dominating the Cavs 121-83, while the 76ers were able to get a win over the Knicks behind Joel Embiid's 50-point outing. And the Nuggets all but sealed the series against the Lakers, winning Game 3 112-105 to take a commanding 3-0 series lead. Tonight, the Bucks will take on the Pacers with Giannis once again a game-time decision. The Mavs will look to hold home court against the Clippers, and the Suns will try to stave off the Timberwolves, taking a 3-0 series lead. In Major League Baseball, the Astros could not get the hits to capitalize on a Verlander start and lost to the Cubs 3-1, and the Rangers were topped by the Mariners 4-3, who with the win took over the lead in the AL West. The Rangers begin their series with the Reds tonight, with pregame beginning at 6:30 right here on the Horn, and that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We appreciate those as always. All right, let's get back to the NFL draft discussion, and we'll get to Rod's rant of the day, but it'll just be us talking. We'll talk about the Atlanta draft pick of Michael Penix Jr. That definitely seems to be the biggest shocker, the most intriguing. Honestly, it's probably one of the more compelling draft picks in the last couple of decades. Like it's really compelling in a lot of ways because we have some sound, some audio actually of Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris. And I know Raheem Morris. He was actually one of the quality control coaches when I was with the Tampa Bay Bucks. And it was a great room. Mike Tomlin was the DB coach. Raheem Morris was the quality control coach, basically kind of the assistant DB coach in that room. Monty Kiffin was the defensive coordinator. I mean, that was a nice coaching staff. It was loaded in that room. Learned a lot in that short time that I was in Tampa, but also got to know Raheem Morris. And he's a funny dude, and I think he's a really good candidate to be a head coach. I think he's learned a lot too from his last time as a head coach there. And he seems like, at least the way he is speaking, that he was a big part of this decision. And it could just be he's along for the ride and Terry Fontenot's making decisions. But it seems like he was a big part of it. He's the one that kind of brought up the Green Bay model, which I think Atlanta is trying to replicate, but hard to. I would be weary of that because I'm a Houston Texans fan, and I remember 4 years, and you remember the Patrick, the Patriot way, and they tried forever to replicate the Patriot way.
And then
they failed miserably.
And we found out the Patriot way was have Tom Brady.
I know.
So we found out
was the Patriot way. That's the only thing it is. That's the secret sauce.
Yeah, we found out that secret sauce was have Tom Brady.
Yeah, because Tampa Bay had the Patriot way for that 1 year, and they won the Super Bowl his first year.
And the reality was the other Patriot way was have one of the best defensive coaches of all time, and we hired the offensive coordinator, which was not the Patriot way.
No, we had Bill O'Brien. He gave him too much power, and
it went downhill. We've done that. We've already gone down that road. We know that.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like that, to be wary of just trying to replicate what some other team did. You can steal ideas from teams, and you can, I think, pattern some of your methods after them. But be wary of we're going to be this kind of team. So I think they're patterning. Hopefully, they're just trying to pattern themselves after the quarterback philosophy of the Green Bay Packers, which is always be drafting quarterbacks. Always be drafting quarterbacks. Like I always say, always be closing. Always be drafting quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
I mean,
don't stop. Ask the Cowboys. Don't stop. They drafted the fewest quarterbacks in the NFL
when's the last
since
time,
1999.
When's the last time the Packers drafted a quarterback in the top 10?
It's been that's different. That's different.
Ever?
That's different.
Ever? Have they ever?
That's different. They're new to this because the Atlanta Falcons have been so bad at drafting quarterbacks. They're new to it. They're new to it, but I will say, if they wanted a quarterback and Michael Penix is the guy they wanted, he wasn't going to be there if they would have traded down late.
No,
the reports are from Jordan Palmer. The reports are that Seattle, Las Vegas, and New Orleans, so teams picking at 13, 14, and 16, were going to move up to go get Michael Penix. And if that's the case, he ain't going to be there for you. He wouldn't be there for you if you traded down.
I get it. You go the whole thing with the Packers way. The entire point of it is getting great value on a quarterback pick later in the draft. That's the Packers way. Great value on a quarterback pick.
That's value now. This is future value. If it works out, think about the second contract. The second contract for Jordan Love, the second contract for Aaron Rodgers. They were real cheap. You got them at bargain basement prices. So my point, I'm just taking devil's advocate. Value, yes, I agree. That's my word. I love value. But they're talking about value later. So there's still value there. It's just not value that you acquired right now.
So you're saying
value for later
on.
You're saying it's value 5 years from now.
So your hope is that you play Kirk Cousins for 2 years, his third year of his contract. I believe you'd still own $40 million over the next 2 years. If you cut him after 2, you play Michael Penix Jr. in 3 years. He has 2 good years. You take his 5th year option. You sign him to a new deal. He, after playing for 1 season or 2 seasons, does well enough that you really want to give him that new contract. He's going to say, you know what? Thanks for taking me at 8. I'll take less money. Or he's going to say, I want $70 million, which is what the price is going to be then. 70 million.
He's not. This is the way you're going to get him on a cheap, because if you're developmental track, right? If you're projecting his developmental track, it'll be where Jordan Love is. They're about to pay Jordan Love, but Jordan Love ain't gonna get top of the quarterback market.
No, he's gonna get money.
He's gonna get good money, but not top of the quarterback money. And you got a franchise quarterback now on a team friendly deal for 4 or 5 years, who's the face of your franchise, and you got him young and I'm coming. So that's the point. That's why it's the Packers model, because if it's value later. That second contract for that quarterback.
The point is, you're now saying.
But I'm not saying it's going to work out for him. I'm saying that's the rationale. That's the thought process.
But that's what I'm saying is, we took the number 8 overall pick. We did not help our team this year. We're not a player away. We're probably 5 or 6 players away from competing at all in the playoffs.
They don't believe that. They believe they can win now. That was the point of the Kirk Cousins deal. They got a win now quarterback, and they got a win later quarterback. So
I get
win
that.
now, win later.
But I don't.
Paying for it.
I don't think anybody else believes that they're a Super Bowl contender.
I'm telling you what they believe. They're drafting that drafting on what they believe, not what y'all believe. Same thing with the Texans, right?
Yeah.
Texans are like, no, what we believe is we're going to be a good team this year. That's why I remember in the trade with Arizona, they decided, no. We're going to keep. All right, that we're gonna keep our pick because we understand that we're a better team. We're gonna be a better team. Yeah. Nobody thought they'd be a good team. All right, and they actually ended up on the winning side. So it's about what's in the organization. I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just saying that's what they believe.
No,
the value is not going to be now. The value will be in 4 or 5 years in the second contract for Penix. Is it stupid? Could be. Is it brilliant? Could be. Everybody said the same thing about the Packers. Said that was a dumb pick to pick Jordan Love there, and asked the Cowboys, was it a good pick? They're like, actually, that was a good pick. That was a smart move. You got your quarterback of the future on a discounted rate, and he's the face of your franchise, and he's cheap.
Yeah, I will say this. How many out of the 6 quarterbacks taken, how many statistically, and I'm not saying which ones or whatever, how many of them are going to be successful in the NFL? Max 2?
Max probably 2. Yeah.
So you're saying, so we have a 1 in 3 chance, a 1 in 3 chance that we got one of the right ones. And we think we're trusting our evaluation that we got the right one. We're also using extreme recency bias to pretend that there will not be a better quarterback taken in the next couple of years and someone won't slide down and we can't find somebody else. We're going to say all that. We're going to leverage what we're going to do now. We're going to piss off the guy we just paid $180 million to. We're going to piss him off by telling him 3 minutes before we make the pick that we're going to do it. We're going to do all these things. We're not going to build our defense, which is what we really should be building, because we have a defensive head coach and we're not sure if this offense is going to be. And we're going to do all of these pieces. And then we're going to draft a guy that we hope 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road is the guy. And if he's not, then we leverage our future now and later, and we're not going to draft. None of it is. I get that there's a theory of, man, if this works, it's great. But again, that's not how you consistently win in this league. It's basically taking something that you've gone, hey, we messed up before because we didn't get a quarterback. We messed up. And then you overcompensate the other way.
Yeah, but Patrick, you consistently win in this league by finding a quarterback and hitting on a quarterback,
giving
yourselves more opportunity to hit at that position. That's what it's really about.
So every team should draft a quarterback.
You can be really great. You can be really great at drafting, and it won't matter if you don't hit at quarterback. And as Brandon Beane said it with Buffalo, you'll be fired anyway if you don't hit at quarterback. So it doesn't matter how much capital I give up for quarterback. It doesn't matter how I get my quarterback and what I give up, because if I hit, everybody believes it was a great move. Everybody says it was a great move. But if you miss, you're going to be fired anyway. So I think what he's doing is he's saying, listen, our big issue is quarterback. I'll get a quarterback for right now. Let's pay. We know what Kirk Cousins is. He's a quarterback for right now. If he doesn't work out, we'll move on from Kirk Cousins, and we know what our quarterback of the future is. I'm not saying that it's going to work out. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing when it comes to quarterback, Patrick. Nobody. That's why you keep acquiring more quarterbacks to give yourself a chance to hit.
And I'm fully on board with acquiring more quarterbacks. I'm not in the top 10 picks. I don't think the top 5 picks of the draft should be quarterbacks every single year. And on the theory that every year you should get a quarterback so you can get a top one, that the top 5 picks in the draft should every single year always be quarterback, no matter what your need is.
If their evaluation is saying he's special, you got to trust their evaluation. They're trusting their evaluation and their process. That's their evaluation. I'm not disagreeing with you, but they're saying that Michael Penix is going to be an elite quarterback and a franchise quarterback. Otherwise, that's a stupid pick. So they're saying it's already. People said the same thing about Bo Nix. People are saying the same thing about the Bo Nix. I agree. People saying the same thing about, and you know what? I'll give you the quote from. I'll look it up from Sean Payton because Adam Schefter had this out there, and I was like, damn, because I trust Sean Payton. I'm a big Sean Payton fan. I don't like Bo Nix as a quarterback, but I love me some Sean Payton. And I'm thinking, damn, Sean Payton likes Bo Nix. Do I need to go back to the drawing board and look at Bo Nix? And apparently, Adam Schefter is tweeting out that, at least the tweet that I saw, he is saying that Sean Payton believes that Bo Nix is good as in terms of his evaluation as when he evaluated Patrick Mahomes. Sounds crazy. I know that sounds crazy. So how about this? No, I'm not making it up.
I know. I heard him say it too, but
exactly. Sean Payton wanted, and this is the tweet from Adam Schefter. Sean Payton wanted and intended to draft Patrick Mahomes in 2017 in the drafts because he's a quarterback guy. Nobody else thought Patrick Mahomes was going to be that good. Sean Payton did. And he held the 11th overall pick. He was ready to turn in the card for Patrick Mahomes, but before he could, Chiefs traded up because Brett Veach, smart guy, he wanted Patrick Mahomes, traded up to the Bills spot at number 10 to take Mahomes before Peyton got him, leaving the Saints to draft Marshawn Lattimore. Peyton feels as strongly about Bo Nix as he did about Patrick Mahomes. That's what he says.
That's what he says.
I'm with you. I'm like,
I think he was also trying to trade up to get somebody else right before he got Bo Nix. So I think that's all a crock. But that's personal. I think he tried to trade up to get McCarthy or Michael Penix. I think he tried to do that first.
But he's smart enough to know that when you bring in a quarterback, that quarterback is tied to your job security.
Oh, he
knows if Bo Nix doesn't work out, then Sean Payton doesn't work out. And yet he drafted Bo Nix. So my point is, these guys trust their evaluations. They don't care about
I think there's a huge difference.
The Atlanta Falcons are saying that they believe Michael Penix is special.
I know, and I think a lot of people do. I didn't have Michael Penix that high in my draft. That's part of the reason. And part of the reason is I think we
didn't have Bo Nix that high either.
I think that the infatuation of you have to keep going, and all it is this quarterback. And when you look at it, there's so many quarterbacks you find later. And if you really have good scouts and everything, you can find diamonds in the rough, and you can find those guys. And that's who you develop as a quarterback, not a guy who's one of the guys you go, oh, you probably play pretty early on. He's not a diamond in the rough. We know exactly what he's going to do. He's played his best football. We don't think he's going to be that much better than what he's done in college. That's not the guy that I think you take at 8. I think if you're going to take a guy, the JJ McCarthy makes more sense, at least of a guy that you think, well, this guy probably has a lot more in the tank left. Now it's a bigger risk, sure, but
JJ wasn't there.
I get that. I'm just saying I don't get taking a guy that
JJ was gone.
I just don't know. It for me just it blows my mind because the Falcons every single year reach in the draft and then they don't do anything with that player. And now there's supposed to be a new era, but they reached on Drake London, they reached on Kyle Pitts, they reached on Bijan Robinson. I get Bijan's great. They reached on him.
It wasn't a reach. It wasn't a reach. You could argue value-wise, the running back position, you shouldn't draft that high. I don't know if it's a reach.
And again, with Michael Penix, when we say he reached, someone else would have taken him with that pick. I'm not saying that they are the only team that was reaching for him. I'm just saying I think anyone who took him that early, it's a reach. That's my point. I think that it was just I get. And I know that there's people. You can get out of that Michael Penix, the Kirk Cousins contract in 2 years. You can get out of it if you want to. You're on about $40 million, but you'll have a rookie quarterback, so that really won't even out too bad because you'll still have Michael Penix on a rookie scale. So it really won't hurt you that much to have that dead cap in your next 2 years. I get it. I just don't. I don't think that it feels to me like they're going to bake everything on it, and then year 3 they're firing both coach and Fontenot when Michael Penix comes out, and he's an okay quarterback, but they haven't built the rest of the team up. And it just you're constantly.
But they got Bijan, they got Kyle Pitts. Like I said, you because you think those were reaches. They think they have all the weapons they need around them to win now.
So they have
Bijan. They got Bijan. They got Drake London. They got Kyle Pitts. What do you mean build up? They got the weapons. They got the weapons. They've been drafted O-line for 2 years. They got the weapons. Weapons. That's why they got Kirk Cousins. What's the point of going to get Kirk Cousins and paying him $180 million if you don't have a team that's ready to win now?
Because they had to get a quarterback.
But you can. There are cheaper options to go win that division than
I agree.
Getting Kirk Cousins that money.
Hear me out.
And I said that at the time.
You just draft Michael Penix, and you knew you had the 8th pick, and you knew one of these quarterbacks would be available, and you could have taken him at 8 and not paid Kirk Cousins, and then spent money in free agency. You could have done that too.
But that's not their method, though, Patrick. Their method is get a quarterback to win now and let Michael Penix sit. So how do you know they're not saying, hold on, Michael Penix is going to be great, just not right now?
I get that.
Just what Kansas City did when they drafted Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's going to be great, just not right now. Give him a little bit of time, and then maybe in 2 years, when you're ready to move on from Kirk Cousins, front loaded, then you can give him the keys. I have no idea exactly what the plan is. My point is, it's not as irresponsible as everybody thinks it is. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's just that nobody's done it before, so that's why everybody thinks that. And this is crazy. But if it works, you know what's going to happen? Patrick, if it works, you know what's going to happen?
If it works,
teams can start doing it more because it's a copycat league.
Of course.
You know what everybody thought was crazy? What the Packers have been doing for the last decade and a half. Everyone's like, that's weird. Why do they keep drafting quarterbacks when they got a starting quarterback? That don't make no damn sense. And you know what everybody's starting to say now? Well, that actually does make sense because it's been successful. It's worked. And when it works, people go, you know what? Maybe we should try that. So my point is it going to work for the Falcons? No, but it's a copycat league. And until somebody does it, unlike anybody else ever did, and it works, and teams will go, actually, that's not a bad idea. It did work out for them. So people they've been trending toward this. Matter of fact, this is basically the Raj Ray anyway. We'll get to it next segment. But teams have been trending toward this, Patrick, and I'm just saying this is the extreme version of it, but this is not that crazy if you've been listening to me for the last 3 years and how I've been talking about stockpiling quarterbacks and always be drafting quarterbacks. It's not that crazy. It is what Green Bay has been doing. He just took it to the extreme.
But it's
the same thing.
But that's my point is if you take everything to the extreme and there's zero value in what you're doing because everything is now overpaid for. You overpaid for Kirk Cousins. You overdrafted Michael Penix. I get you don't get him if you don't do that, and that's your great. But you can't build a team on everyone was on max. We overspent on everything. I don't think that's a way to build a team. I think that's a way to overindulge and then keep having holes in your team and keep pushing and not have depth in all of those pieces. I get it. I don't think it's the worst decision ever made in the draft. I don't think it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I just personally do not think it will work. I think you wasted a pick drafting a guy at 8 that you could have made this team better this year. And if you wanted to win now, you could have done it. That's what I think. I think you could have got a quarterback later in this draft that would have had a similar percentage of their odds. I think drafting Spencer Rattler and Michael Penix, your percentage goes down of it actually working probably 10%. So it goes from a 30% chance that it works out to a 20% chance it works out. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that there's a odds, and I'm not saying Spencer Rattler is any good. I'm just saying the odds of it actually working, when we know what the odds of quarterbacks working out is, that you're taking somebody and your odds aren't that. It's like, to me, it's like, well, I bought 20 lottery tickets instead of 1. Your odds are not, you're 20 times better, but your odds are still 20 in 20 billion. Your odds are still not great that it works.
Listen, I agree with you. It's still you're right. You got very low success rates, period, at quarterback, and this may be an even lower success rate in terms of methods they want to apply. I like that teams have a plan when it comes to quarterback, have a vision. Being the Dallas Cowboys, hope is not a strategy.
I agree with that.
But Forrest Gumping your way through the quarterback position is not. Being the luckiest team when it comes to quarterback is not a strategy, and that's what the Cowboys have been. And I've been witnessing that for a while, where this is a team that had an undrafted free agent become a franchise quarterback, a 4th round pick become a franchise quarterback. They wanted Johnny Manziel, they wanted Connor Cook and Paxton Lynch. Thank God it didn't work out for him. You know, the Cowboys have always been one of those organizations. They don't have a plan at quarterback. They just kind of, hey, it'll work out for us. It always does. I like when teams have a plan at quarterback. Will it work out? The chances of even if you approach the quarterback position responsibly, the chances of it working out are less than 20%. That's just the reality of it. At least when you have a plan, at least you can execute the vision. So I respect it. Like I said, it's the extreme version of what the Packers have been doing for a decade and a half. And by the way, every time the Packers did what they did, everybody said, that's stupid. That's a bad move. No value there. Irresponsible move by that organization. I remember it. I remember it all.
They did.
And every time the Packers in 4 or 5 years was like, don't all y'all feel stupid now? All y'all were wrong about our methods. And we are the ones who actually have adopted the most successful method of quarterback development in the league. So y'all should just pay attention to us and quit criticizing what we do. Because they've now done it multiple times. And everybody thought it was crazy at the time. So everybody's going to think you crazy at the time when you first do it. Everybody thought Jimmy Johnson was nuts with the Jimmy Johnson chart. Trading Herschel Walker. You're trading Herschel. What the hell's going on, man? Herschel Walker is the foundational piece of the future of the Cowboys. And then, turns out that guy knows what he's doing. God, it always seems crazy at first. It always does.
No, and look,
if it works out, you're going to be like, damn, that was savvy. That was shrewd. And if it doesn't work out, guys, he's like I said, he's gonna be fired anyway. That's the NFL. You're gonna be fired anyway, man. It's not for long. You only got 4 or 5 years to make it work. And if you don't win the Super Bowl in that time, which you probably won't, you're going anyway. So why go about it the same way everybody does? What is the definition of insanity? The same thing over and over again, expecting different results. You're gonna do the same damn thing. Do something different. Think outside the box. Have some scones. Have some testicular fortitude to follow your own vision. That's what I respect about what the Falcons are doing. Is it right? I don't know. But you know who's wrong? 31 other teams every damn year doing the same thing over and over again in the copycat league.
I'll give you. I just don't think it's good.
Exactly.
I just don't think it's a good move. I
remember people said the same thing about drafting Jordan Love.
I agree. No, I know.
Terrible move.
No, I get it.
They're on their way down. And then what happened? Aaron Rodgers wins multiple MVPs.
I get it. Like,
and then now they got a quarterback.
Kirk Cousins wins multiple MVPs. It's the best move ever.
Yeah. And then listen, the Green Bay Packers didn't win the Super Bowl, by the way.
No.
And they only won one in that time where they were doing all that. And Brett Favre won one in his time where he was doing all that. But they didn't struggle. They never had to reset. There was never no thought of blowing it up. They just kind of seamlessly flow from franchise QB to franchise QB.
No, I get it. I just don't trust the Falcons that they made the right move. I don't trust
that's fair.
I don't trust. There's nothing about this that seems like it wasn't a rash. We decided we really like Michael Penix Jr. 2 weeks after we signed Kirk Cousins. Screw it. We messed up signing Kirk Cousins. We shouldn't have signed him. That was a bad move. Screw it. We're moving on to the future. We're going to draft this guy now. And you know what? Next year in the draft, when we see somebody else we like, we're going to go get the new shiniest toy. We're going to keep trying to get the shiniest toy we can get over and over and over again. And it'll keep grinding us into the ground because we never try and really build anything. We just keep seeing the next shiny toy and we like it. That's what I see the Falcons doing. We like the shiny toy. Well, are you going to play with it? Well, no, keep it in the box. Keep Bijan in the box. You want to take Bijan out of the box too early. No, we don't take Michael Penix out of the box too early. We don't want to take Drake London out of the box too early. We don't take Kyle Pitts out of the box too early. They're going to devalue with him if we take him out of the box. We got to get a good deal on that second contract by not playing him. And by the time they're 36, they're going to be great.
Then they treat them like collector's items.
Collector's items.
Keep them in the box.
They got a one-on-one Bijan Robinson on the shelf.
Which is terrible for a running back. It's like, dude, you got to maximize him now because nobody wants to pay a running back for a second. No, listen, I agree with that. The fact that the Falcons have decided to execute this extreme vision should not give us confidence. That I agree with. If it was another organization, maybe like, you know what? They may be onto something. The Falcons, the odds of failure, they increase exponentially just because they are the Falcons.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you on that. Yes. No doubt. All right. Good conversation. That was fun. That was good convo. All right. We come back. That wasn't even a rant today. We got to get that in. That's coming up next segment. We come right back. This is the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis of Lifetime Local. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let's talk about Callahan's General Store because they got it all. Everything you need to make sure that your lawn is in a top-notch shape, that make sure that your lawn is in golf course condition, as my man Charlie likes to say, and to make sure that you're in the running for that Lawn of the Month club. Now, that may be a fictional award, but still, I want to be in that club. I want my neighbors to envy my yard. And because of my friends over at Callahan's General Store, I'm on the right track. First of all, I put down the pre-emergence to make sure I was killing the weeds initially, then got the weed and feed to feed the good grass, kill more of those crabgrass and dandelion weeds in the yard. Then when you got some of the Bermuda seed to make sure you're filling in all the brown patches that were damaged from winter freezes or from too much sun. And now the yard is starting to look really good, starting to look like that yard is in golf course condition. And it's all because of my friends over at Callahan's General Store. Now, anything else you need, the bags of soil, you need the amendments, you need the fertilizer. They have that at Callahan's General Store. They got everything you need. If you have truly a green thumb, which I do not have, I've been working on it. I don't know if you're born with that or you can develop it, but if you truly you have that green thumb and you're starting to plant those seedling vegetables for your gardens, Callahan's has a variety of peppers and melons and other plants to choose from. They also have great trees, fruit trees and pecan trees to plant. They got it all at Callahan's General Store. You know where it is, 501 Bastrop Highway between downtown and the airport. Every day is a great day. Just make it a Callahan's day. Now, I wanted to rant about the Michael Penix move, the Michael Penix draft pick, but I think we just did that. So I'm not going to do that too much. I'll say this, though, about Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, he can't win for losing. No. He's basically always a bridesmaid and never a bride, right? He's always the starting quarterback and even times the face of the franchise, but never the franchise quarterback. Right? Think about it. He's drafted initially by Washington with the Shanahan clan, but they traded up in the draft and traded a boatload to get RG3. He's going to be the future because the organization was split, right? The owner really wanted RG3, and the Shanahan's like, hey, man, this Kirk Cousins guy is pretty damn good. So Shanahan's, they're pretty damn stubborn. They're like, we're going to draft our guy. Even if the owner makes us trade for Kirk Cousins, we're still going to draft that guy. It makes us trade for RG3, we're still going to draft Kirk Cousins, which they did, like 100 picks later in the, I believe it was the 4th round where they drafted Kirk Cousins. Anyway, so he's never really the guy there. And even when RG3 is done because he has the injury and his career is basically over and he's not the starting quarterback anymore, they keep franchising him. They keep giving him a promise ring, but never the engagement ring. They keep franchising him, and he ends up.
I'll tell you this. Those promise rings are beautiful.
Oh, they're like large. Kobe specials. Yeah, they're Kobe specials. They're beautiful. No, they're right. The guys complain about it. You're right. The guys want that engagement ring, which right. Those promise rings are nice. So he gets the promise ring a couple of times. He gets 2 of them, by the way. Ends up going to the Vikings. And even with the Vikings, remember, it came out later on with the Vikings that the Vikings tried to trade last year or 2 years ago now for Anthony Richardson. And it didn't work out for him. So even they were looking at him like, yeah, you're the starter and the face of the franchise, but you're not the franchise. And they let him hit free agency. How often does a franchise quarterback hit free agency, ladies and gentlemen? It's rare. It's rare. It happens, but it's rare. So he was never really the franchise there in their mind. And then he gets the injury, and then he's a free agent, and now he's up signing with the Falcons. And his first year out with the Falcons, they signed him $180 million deal. Everybody's like, man, they overpaid for Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins is thinking, finally, a team wants me. They overpay for me. I am the franchise quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. It's me. It's finally happened. And then in the draft, it is the most bizarre and the wildest and the most shocking draft pick that we've seen in decades. And it's like, no, Kirk Cousins, you are not the franchise quarterback. You are a bridesmaid, but never the bride. It's weird, right? It seems like that's always the case with him.
Dude, he got the phone call from the fiance, like, hey, there's gonna be some charges on my credit card, right? When you see the statement, you can't freak out. It's $1,000 at this type of establishment isn't that much money.
at this really nice hotel. Why are you there? What's going on there? It's a lot of room service happening. What's going on?
He just got that phone call with the phone call while they're on the clock.
That's great. Oh yeah, can we play this audio, Patrick? Because I let the people hear this audio of Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris talking about the trade. Because that's pretty hardcore. That they called him when they were on the clock. So he's watching. He's watching. He's just watching. He's watching like all of us.
Am I getting? There's so many. Am I getting Odunze? Am I getting him? He's available. I get another star wide receiver. Oh man, we're gonna be killing it this year. Oh man, we get Byron Murphy. We'll get the best deep tackle. Oh man, our team's gonna be so good.
He was. No, that's exactly. No, because listen, what have I always said, Patrick? Every NFL player watches the draft the same. I hope my team gets better. Just please don't draft my position.
Except for, do you hear what the report what Brandon Ayuk sent to Shanahan and Lynch?
Oh no, what did he do?
He sent them, hey, not gonna lie, killer pick.
Exactly. He's trolling them. But you hear the latest though. The latest is that the Ricky Pearsall draft pick actually it implies that they may trade Debo.
All right.
And not trade Ayuk. That's what the scuttlebutt is.
I know we'll talk, but but apparently Brandon Ayuk was like, look, you know what? I like the kid.
Quality trolling.
He's a good player. Trolling. He's a good player.
Quality trolling. You should troll your own damn team during the draft. You should do that because they're trolling you the whole damn time. But here's this. Can we get this audio of Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot being asked about what went down when they called Kirk Cousins while they were on the clock to draft Michael Penix?
This question is for Terry or Raheem, whichever one of you called Kirk when you were on the clock and you tell him about it. What's his reaction?
Well, that's a private. We wouldn't share that, and obviously
reactions are pretty private, right?
Yeah.
He got called on the clock, obviously, because it's a sensitive time with the issues of what you got going on. It's never a right time to talk to a quarterback about those things, and reactions are always going to be private when it comes to those things, unless Kirk decides to tell you some of those things, whatever the case may be. But he's a competitor, just like us all, and you can always expect those things to go just like you kind of think.
His agents kind of been telling us that they were shocked and dismayed, and so that they were informed on the clock?
Yes.
Yes.
Great answer. Yes. That was Raheem Morris, too. Okay, so let's get to this audio. This is a little piece of audio, too. And this is them being asked about, hey, what went into the thought process of drafting a quarterback in the top 10 when you just signed one in the offseason? Here is Raheem Morris.
Green Bay model was something that we talked about, and it's been proven to be right last year. So hopefully we'll be right with them.
There you go. Green Bay model. Is it going to work for you? I don't know. Can every fast food restaurant be Chick-fil-A? Hell no, they can't be Chick-fil-A. You ain't got the nuggets, right? You can't be closed on Sundays. You ain't got the customer service, so you can't be Chick-fil-A. The Texans tried to be the Patriot way with the Texans.
Yeah.
Didn't work out for them. It's really hard sometimes to do that.
The Texans, and this is what the Falcons is the question of what they're doing. Are they trying to model after Chick-fil-A, or do they just sell chicken?
That is a difference. There is a difference. Yes, Bush's and Popeyes. Yeah, y'all sell chicken, but y'all ain't Chick-fil-A. Amen to that, brother. Okay, here's my one little rant, though. Can I just say this? And I think it may prove collusion by the NFL. Lamar Jackson wanted to be traded, right? He's wanted to be traded, seeking a trade. And the Ravens gave him the opportunity to seek a trade. All right.
Yeah.
It gave him permission to do it on a non-exclusive franchise tag, which I think they would have traded multiple first-round picks.
Multiple first-round picks is something that you would have easily given up for the MVP of the league.
Okay, boom, there you go. In this draft, we watched 6 quarterbacks go in the top 12. 2 of them, and we're debating that nobody saw them being drafted that high. You saw 6 of them being drafted in the top 12. Bo Nix probably a reach, a bit of an overdraft there, and with Michael Penix too. And I like Michael Penix, but yeah, an overdraft there. So we know teams are desperate for quarterbacks, for quarterbacks, and yet Washington, Atlanta, the Jets, New England. Remember, teams were going out of their way not only to basically to tell us that they weren't interested in Lamar Jackson, but they didn't even speak to Lamar Jackson. Like they were like, no, we haven't even talked to him. We don't even need to talk to him at all. And it's like, but don't you need a quarterback? Yeah, they need a quarterback. They don't want to talk to Lamar Jackson, who just won his second MVP. And to me, I almost feel like it felt like collusion by the league because he was negotiating his own deal. And they don't want big-time players like that negotiating their own deals. I think his mama basically kind of acted as agent. She got the agent fee, but he negotiated his own deal. And it was always some shade. And remember, agents don't want that either. Agents don't want players negotiating their own deals because that's their money. The league don't want it. The teams don't want it. Agents don't want it. Felt like the forces were working against Lamar Jackson. Because why else would the Ravens basically have an indecent proposal moment and just allow your wife to go date some billionaire and to see if she likes him better? That's crazy. That's basically what was happening there. They allowed their young quarterback to seek out indecent proposals from the rest of the league. That's crazy. You would never do that. Why'd they do it? They knew.
Yeah.
Collusion. They knew. It's like, ain't nobody going to.
I mean, yeah, the fact that Atlanta did not go after Lamar Jackson
then
paid Kirk Cousins what they paid him, and then used the pick in the draft at number 8 to get Michael Penix. At no point does that make any sense that you didn't go for Lamar Jackson.
Thank you. What are you doing? And one of the reasons I think they said was because of injury history. And it's like, injury history. Kirk Cousins is coming off an injury. You gave him $180 million. And Michael Penix, God bless him, I love him. The guy's had more injuries than any quarterback coming out in this draft. And it's like, none of it made sense, Patrick. None of it made sense. Those mofos were colluding like a son of a, and they really were. Because they could just not even have interest, to not even do your due diligence.
Yeah.
That's your job, man. That's your job. They're like, nah, we ain't interested. You're not interested in an MVP caliber quarterback, and yet you're rolling the dice, like you said, on Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix.
The fact that the Broncos can sit and say, well, you know what, though? Bo Nix had a really good year at Oregon. So he's probably, a caliber quarterback who could do well in the NFL. What about Lamar Jackson? Well, I mean, he's won an MVP, but we don't know what he could do.
What are we like? This is insanity.
Also, well, he's been in the league for a little bit. Well, how much older is he than Bo Nix? I don't like a year and a half. It's like a year and a half older than Michael Penix Jr. turns 24 in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson's, I think, is 26, 27.
Oh yeah, Lamar's still young. I think he's. I got to go look and check. I think you're right. I think he's like 27. If you go look at,
so
I mean,
he's
this
3 years older than Michael Penix Jr. You could have got him. He's ready to play day one.
Day one.
Already had an MVP in the pocket.
And I think he's had fewer injuries actually.
And fewer injuries.
It's just not making sense, guys. It's not adding up after this draft. They were colluding. They can't prove collusion. It's really tough. Collusion.
No.
Do your damn job. At least call the guy. He's an MVP quarterback that's available potentially, and teams weren't even interested. Wouldn't even pick up the phone.
No. And the flip of that, the Falcons picked up the phone so early on Kirk Cousins that they're going to get draft picks taken away because they tampered.
They were tampering. And yeah, you didn't have to tamper with him. He was available to talk to. What is going on? What is happening? Does this make sense to anybody else? Anybody else? Like, what is happening? Guys, collusion. It doesn't make sense. Nothing else makes sense.
And it's one of those things I get, like fans of the league and people who are not involved, that they'll look at it and say, look, I can see the injury history of Lamar and I can see his playoff shortcomings and realizing why you don't want to pay him all that money. But if you watch the league and you see what they're paying money for guys like Kirk Cousins, who has an injury history and doesn't do well in the playoffs, and Dak Prescott, who will make a ton of money, like there's certain guys that are at that level, they make that money, they get those picks. I get why there would have been hesitation to do it, because you also thought it's going to tie us up while the Ravens are just going to match. No. All that, however, none of it makes sense that you don't pick up the phone. That's what doesn't make sense.
Exactly. I'm telling you, man, collusion. That when I watched that draft last night, it was proof to me that they
6 quarterbacks taken.
Like I said, the Atlanta Falcons, what they did in paying Kirk Cousins $180 million and then going to overdraft Michael Penix with the number 8 overall.
Tampered to get Kirk Cousins.
To do it.
Paid him a $90 million guaranteed money over 4 years and 180.
Pick up the phone or give up 2 first-round picks for Lamar Jackson and give him a new contract. It's basically what you're giving up more than that, arguably now, for your 2 quarterbacks.
Yes.
I got that. Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. That's the rant. That was the rant. All right, we'll come back. I'm glad Patrick gets it too. It's like, this doesn't make any damn sense. Hell no, it doesn't make any damn sense.
No, we talked about it last year. Yeah. This way, like, no, this doesn't make sense that no one's calling.
And now we have more proof of it. Now we have proof. Y'all can't say y'all wasn't thirsty for a quarterback, because y'all was thirsty, like through a desert. Yeah. All right, we'll come back. We got what the stats coming back right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis of Lifetime Local and Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis here. Austin, Texas is a great city. One of the reasons it's one of the fastest growing cities in the country is because people come here, they visit, and they want to move here. They want to live here, and I don't blame them. As our city continues to grow and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Now, many of the iconic landmarks in this city that make it so unique and so special were actually built and constructed by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity or you want a refreshing career change, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local 482. They're hiring over 3,000 people right now for a huge project. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, and a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. Become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. Go online and apply today at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time for What the Facts with the Stats. So I'll try to be quick here because I know we're up against it. And we haven't talked about this, but we're going to have to talk about it. Just yesterday, we were talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown getting a contract and making himself a top 3 highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Jerry Jones, I know you like to wait to the midnight hour to get these deals done, but the longer you wait, the more you have to pay. Because now A.J. Brown has reset the wide receiver market. This actually came under the radar, Patrick. We didn't get a chance to talk about it because there's so much draft discussion. He signed a 3-year, $96 million extension, $84 million guaranteed, giving him the title of highest paid wide receiver in the league. $32 million per year now is the going rate for the highest paid wide receiver in the league. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to be pushing that number. So it just continues.
So, yeah, if you would have paid CeeDee Lamb at the beginning of the offseason, he would have been 4th already.
Within half a season, basically, right? It had already been 4th.
Yeah, by the day 2 of the draft, he would have been, because if you paid him right behind Tyreek, second highest paid receiver, right behind Tyreek, it'd been Tyreek, Amon-Ra, and now AJ Brown.
Now AJ Brown. Devontae Adams. Sorry, I think he's in there. He's like 28. So,
but you would have paid him above. You paid him like 29.
You paid him above it. Yeah, you're right.
And you put him at like 29 here. He would have been 4th right now.
You're right.
He would have been 4th already.
No, you're right.
And come on now. I want to see how these Leafs fall. Jerry says. I want to see how the Leafs are heavy, Jerry.
They're heavy.
Get the rake, Jerry. The Leafs are falling.
Get a leaf blower, man. I can't even see the grass on the yard. What are you talking about? Leaves falling. And you're right, because Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, that's coming too. That's happening. So I don't know what the Cowboys are waiting on.
And T. Higgins and Brandon Ayuk, they're coming as well.
Ayuk's going to get paid.
Yeah, T. Higgins wants to get paid as well.
Dude, what are you doing, Jerry? Do that deal. That deal should have been done. But now it's tougher. Every time one of these deals gets done, the deal gets tougher to do. Because I'm sure.
Hey, Jerry, just hire Jane Slater. She told you what to do.
She told you what to do. You should have signed him after his 3rd year when he was a second team All-Pro.
But I'm just saying, you could have signed him 3 weeks ago.
You could have signed. Yeah, you're right.
He would have been the 4th already.
And it still would have been cheaper. Yeah, I don't exactly. Yeah. All right. We've ranted about that enough, and we've talked about it. But just one other, there's another factor now in that negotiation. It's going to make it tougher for the Cowboys. All right, we come back. We'll talk about the Longhorns, where they landed in the first round of the draft. Xavier Worthy, God is good. At least the football gods are to Xavier Worthy, landing with the Kansas City Chiefs, and also Byron Murphy ended up landing in a good spot. We'll review those and also talk about what we expect to see in day 2 of the NFL draft from those Longhorns. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about Dr. U and his wonderful team. These fine folks over at Dr. Eckerd's office, I owe them a huge debt of gratitude. I went there for just a routine checkup, and during that checkup, they actually found something that was troubling. They found that my wisdom teeth were growing in sideways, and before it became a dire situation, they wanted to make sure they took care of it, and they took great care of me. Let me tell you, folks, they made sure that I was educated, informed about the entire process. I knew exactly what was going on every step of the way, but they got it done. They got me scheduled to have the procedure, had all my wisdom teeth removed, was back at work within a couple of days, and now my dental health and dental hygiene better than ever. So I am very grateful to Dr. Eckert and his team. And it doesn't matter. Maybe it's something as serious as my situation where you have to have all your wisdom teeth removed, or maybe it's just something pretty routine, like just a normal cleaning or a checkup, or maybe, teeth whitening, dentures, porcelain crowns, veneers, dental implants, even full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Greg Eckert and his team are all about. They're all about you. That's why they call him Dr. You. Well, that's not why they call him Dr. You. His last name starts with you, but he's all about you. So it's apropos. It's that he's all about you. He's all about making sure his patients get the best quality dental care available. And right now, he can give you a brand new smile in just one day, permanently secure to your dental implants. No time spent without teeth. You get temporary fixtures until they complete your permanent smile. And you're going to smile again with confidence, eat freely, without pain or discomfort. We're talking about a lifelike permanent solution. So you've been told your teeth need to be replaced. Don't freak out. Don't have anxiety about it. Just call Dr. Eckert today to learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. It's a brand new smile in just one day. Sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's just Dr. You. It's a complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose but everything to gain. 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166. Or visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a 512 Friday. Actually, it's a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Football. Oh, don't forget the Ric Flair. Woo! 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast featuring my man Patrick Davis, who's the Idealionaire. My co-host always comes up with the musically themed days of the week. And 512 Friday is when he plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Barfield. Barfield the Tyrant. He does a little funky music over there at Sea Boys on Saturday nights.
Love that. The Tyrant?
Barfield the Tyrant.
That's a great name. That's a great name, man. I'm always intrigued by just musicians and bands names. I don't know. It's a little weird quirk of mine, but I like that one. The Tyrant. All right. My man Patrick always hooking us up. Big fat poll of the day. We haven't hit it because we've been heavy into the NFL draft, but it's draft related. Let the folks know what the topic is for the big fat poll of the day, Patrick.
Big fat poll of the day. Who is the biggest steal of the first round? The two easiest ones would be your defensive backs, Quentin Mitchell with number 22 to the Eagles, Terrion Arnold 24 to the Lions. You say Byron Murphy slipping all the way to 16 as his second defensive player taken off the board. Byron Murphy's there. Dallas Turner. A lot of people had him as their highest ranked. I know Rod did not, but a lot of people did have Dallas Turner. He went 17 to the Vikings. I've seen some people saying Brock Bowers.
They traded up. Did they trade for him? They traded up for that?
They traded up for him. But a lot of people are saying Brock Bowers as well to the Jets, which I like, or to the Raiders. The problem with Brock Bowers to the Raiders, the one problem I had with it is the Raiders picked Michael Mayer last season. Right? Michael Mayer.
Michael Mayer.
Michael Mayer.
Sorry. Michael Mayer, yeah.
I can't remember that. I met his name.
No, I forgot about that.
But they picked him in the second round, like early in the second round. So they picked their future tight end last year, and now they have picked a future tight end again. You can play two tight ends, but to have two tight ends taken that early, and that's after you basically got rid of Darren Waller. So, I mean, look, I think Brock Bowers is going to be really good. Okay. I think him going to 13 is a steal. The only reason I didn't list it in mine. So if you think that's it, then we'll put him on the poll online because I saw some of y'all put it on there. And that's what we ask you on the text lines. We dictate what we put on the poll. But Brock Bowers is up there. I just didn't because of the deal that they drafted a tight end so early last year that he was they drafted the first tight end taken last season. And they took the first tight end this season.
That is weird. I'm not gonna lie. That is strange.
Tight ends are not a position you normally do that with.
No, because it's not a premium position, and usually you don't have that many high-level tight ends to be drafted them in the first round and back-to-back. Yes.
So it was second round last year, but he was the first tight end off the board.
First tight end off the board. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't think about that, but actually, I like both of those guys. So honestly, I didn't realize that, but that's a nice 12 personnel package you got there with the Raiders. One back, two tight ends.
Devontae Adams on the outside.
Pretty formidable, yeah. And that's a pretty nice dude there with Antonio Pierce. Okay, let's that's the big fat poll today. We'll get to the horn headlines here, then we'll talk about Xavier Worthy landing with the Chiefs. We'll talk about Byron Murphy landing with the Seattle Seahawks. We'll get into both of those and talk about some of the draft picks, the Longhorns we expect to be drafted, I should say, coming up this weekend. But first, let's get educated, let's get informed and updated with the horn headlines with my man Patrick Davis.
Your horn headline is brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas softball got the win over Nichols yesterday, riding a 7-run first inning to a 10-3 victory. Reese Atwood failed to get an RBI in the game, so she will look to set the single-season RBI record for Texas this weekend against Iowa State with games starting tonight. Texas baseball will travel to Norman this weekend to face the number 18 Oklahoma Sooners. Texas is currently 3 games behind the Big 12 leading Sooners in the conference standings. Will look to make up that ground and avenge a sweep in Austin last season. In the NFL draft, the record 23 offensive players were drafted in the first round, including 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks. The first defensive player was not selected until pick 15. Texas into the first round with 2 players drafted, with Byron Murphy going 16th overall to the Seattle Seahawks and Xavier Worthy going 28th overall to Kansas City Chiefs. Cowboys were able to trade back to pick 29th, where they selected Oklahoma offensive tackle Tyler Guyton. The biggest shocker of the first round came when the Atlanta Falcons selecting Michael Penix with the 8th pick after signing Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million contract this offseason. Rounds 2 and 3 will be tonight, starting at 6 p.m. In the NBA, the Orlando Magic picked up their first win of the series, dominating the Cavs 121-83, while the 76ers were able to get a win over the Knicks behind Joel Embiid's 50-point outing. And the Nuggets all but sealed the series against the Lakers, winning Game 3 112-105 to take a commanding 3-0 series lead. Tonight, the Bucks will take on the Pacers with Giannis once again a game-time decision. The Mavs will look to hold home court against the Clippers, and the Suns will try to stave off the Timberwolves, taking a 3-0 series lead. In Major League Baseball, the Astros could not get the hits to capitalize on a Verlander start and lost to the Cubs 3-1, and the Rangers were topped by the Mariners 4-3, who, with the win, took over the lead of the AL West. Rangers begin their series with the Reds tonight, with pregame beginning 6:30 right here on the Horn, and that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We appreciate those. Let's talk about it. The Longhorns who were drafted. We'll start with Xavier Worthy because I think that one is the most compelling pick because you ended up, if you're Xavier Worthy, you end up playing with the best quarterback in the league, the best offensive mind, and best play caller in the league now with Andy Reid, and a team that's coming off a Super Bowl trying to three-peat, something that's never been done in NFL history, and you get to be the potential number one wide receiver weapon there because they had one of the worst, if not the worst, wide receiving room in all of the NFL. And the cherry on top is whenever, which I think is going to be pretty soon, next couple of years, Travis Kelce decides to hang his cleats up and retire, there's a good chance that the passing game of the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes could be like built around you or run through you.
I mean, if you continue to progress and you become what they think you can become, then 100% it can be built around you. And I mean, you throw in all of those pieces, and Rashee Rice most likely being suspended for this beginning of next season. That the one wide receiver that kind of showed up for you last season is going to be dealing with a suspension. That as more details come out about that, the longer the suspension seems like it's going to be. Yep. So we have that. Then you signed Marquise Brown, but that is a 1-year deal. So that is something where, I don't know if they knew Xavier Worthy would be available to them at this pick and they could get him. But I think you're going to try and find out how much he can go. Xavier Worthy, too, feels like a guy who can come in day one and at least go out there and start to make some plays.
Oh, I think day one, I think he's going to start for him, and I think he's going to be an instant impact guy. He went to the perfect system. You need to go to a progressive offensive coach who would – because this is the reason I predicted a team would trade for him, because he's an outlier.
Yeah.
He is one of the slimmest, one of the smallest, kind of frailest, if that is a word, wide receivers to be drafted in first round NFL history. I'll give you these numbers about Xavier Worthy. If you go look at it, he is an outlier for two reasons. His BMI, number one, his body mass index. You're talking about a guy that weighed in 166 pounds. So you go look at his body mass index. He's at around 22.7, which is really, really light. If you go look at the lightest receivers in the combine history, at least since 2000, he's the 9th lightest of any receiver at the combine since 2000. And if you go look at the top 50 of those receivers who are the lightest guys, only one is a 1,000-yard receiver among that group, and that was Deshaun Jackson. Now, keep in mind, Devontae Smith he's actually in that frame too, has that kind of frame and frail physique. But he didn't perform at the combine. He performed at the pro day. So you can throw two of those guys in there, but those are your outliers. So your hope is that, and I believe the Chiefs, they believe he's going to be a Deshaun Jackson type, a Devontae Smith type, those guys who are slight and they have that really small-ish frail frame. And they can their play still translates to a physical style in the NFL. And also his speed is not working against him. He's the fastest human being in the history of the combine. But if you go look at the fastest wide receivers in combine history, take, the top 25 fastest guys in combine history. There's only 1,000-yard receiver among that group, and that's Santana Moss. I'm talking about at the combine, based on their combine time. He's the only one.
Yeah.
So he's an outlier for a lot of reasons. Speed doesn't always translate. I always said at the wide receiver position, being fast is like, being well endowed. Just because you're well endowed doesn't make you a great lover. There's a lot of things that, that will translate, a lot of skills that can translate to being a great lover. Same thing with being a good wide receiver. Your route running, your acceleration, your deceleration, your hands, your ability to high point footballs. A lot of that makes you a great receiver, but people just assume speed, he's going to be a great receiver. But for Xavier Worthy, he is a great football player who happens to have world-class speed, not, in my opinion, a world-class speedster who also plays football, which has been the case for a lot of those guys. He is a football player that happens to be the fastest human being in combine history. And I don't think it's coincidence, Patrick, that they have now X-Man who ran a 4.2 flat at the combine, and they also have Hollywood Brown who ran a 4.27, and very similar in their frames. Hollywood Brown may be a little bit thicker than Xavier Worthy, but now you have real speed on the outside. That what's happened to the passing attack of the Kansas City Chiefs is so intriguing, even though they're still winning Super Bowls, so it doesn't really matter. But they used to be the most lethal vertical passing attack in the NFL when they first had Tyreek Hill, and even after Tyreek Hill. In 2019, Patrick Mahomes had 15 touchdowns on passes 20 yards or more down the field, 3 interceptions, and he was first in the NFL in deep passing yards with over 1,300. Same thing was true in 2021. He was 5th in deep passing yards in 2021, but his passer rating was a 113.1 passer rating, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, they went deep down the field early and often. But listen to these stats and what's changed. Over the last 5 seasons, the average length of a Mahomes touchdown pass has decreased from 2019 to it was 17.3. I mean, his average touchdown pass, the length of it was 17 yards. I mean, you're talking about chunking it deep. And then in 2020, it dropped to 13. In 2021, it dropped to 8.5. In 2022, 4.5. In 2023, it was 3.9. That was the length of the Mahomes' average touchdown pass was 3.9 yards. In the last 2 years, guys, Mahomes has a total of 2 touchdown passes that have traveled 20-plus yards through the air. Just 2 of them. And he has more interceptions on 20-plus yard passes than he has touchdown passes of 20 yards or more. This is the best quarterback in the league. If you look at offensive touchdowns on plays of 10-plus yards, Kansas City has 7 last season. That's good for 31st in the league. Guys, the Jets had 8, so they were 30th, and the Carolina Panthers were last in the NFL in touchdowns on 10-plus yard plays with 6. They were 32nd. The Kansas City Chiefs total distance combined on all of their touchdown passes in 2023, I'm not making this up, 101 yards. That's good for 30th in the NFL, ahead of the Carolina Panthers and the Jets. The best quarterback in the league in the same area statistically as the worst quarterbacks in the league. Kansas City now, I think, wants to bring back the verticality in their offense. Let Kelsey work that underneath with more space, and that's going to be dangerous because that's picking your poison right there between Kelsey or defending the deep ball.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what you want to bring back, and it's, Xavier Worthy where you're able to get him, and of course, it's the trade up. You decide that's the guy that you really want to go after. But I think we've seen them over the last couple of years try to add that in, and you get a Kadarius Toney. Why they go take a shot on him, and he would get downfield and couldn't catch the ball. And they've brought in guys that can get open and get downfield, but they can't go ahead and catch the ball. I think when you bring in, Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy, you're willing to take that shot that one of those guys is going to be able to catch the ball, and whoever goes out there, and I'm sure Patrick Mahomes is going to get with both of them here in the next few weeks and start throwing and start to try and get that rhythm and start to try and figure it out and just start to get a feel for it, because he cannot wait to get a wide receiver that he can get downfield and start making those plays. Because, I mean, he'd love to go back and sit on the bench sometimes and not have to make a, 28-play drive where he's scrambling and has to do sack avoidance over and over again and throw the ball, 4 more yards to Travis Kelce, and then, all right, 6 more yards. And then,
that's what they turned into.
If you just get into, okay, now he can throw it over the top, and now it opens up inside in those Travis Kelce catches for the next couple of years when he's still there. That Travis Kelce catches now open up to where he can be a weapon with the football, as opposed to every time he catches it, there's always someone right around him because they have 3 or 4 guys on him because he's the threat. Once you make other threats, and I mean, Pacheco will pay off for this as well.
Agreed.
Because once you have to pull those safeties back, and you have to actually start to respect that offense and the downfield threat, Pacheco, who's been playing well with no real deep passing game. Well, that should open up for him as well. It's scary how much better it can make it if Xavier Worthy can play at that level.
Yeah, it is scary. I'm a Texans fan, and I gotta tell you, I don't like it. As a Longhorn fan, I love it, but as a Texans fan, I don't like it. I will say, ironically, Xavier Worthy had one of the highest off-target rates of any receiver in this class. It was actually at 22.4% in terms of his off-target rate, and on deep passes specifically, if you go look at it, his 9.2 career yards per target average on deep passes ranks worst of any projected non-undrafted free agent Power 5 wide receiver in this class. So basically, the fastest wide receiver of all time is not an effective deep threat. A lot of people believe, and I'm sure Brett Veach does now too, that is on Quinn Ewers more so than it is on Xavier Worthy, and that they probably went back and watched the film. So if the Kansas City Chiefs are willing to draft him and say, no, he's going to be a deep threat for us, that's probably when they watched the film, they thought a lot of the misses on deep throws were more attributed to the QB, which I agree with more so than the wide receiver. So,
and also looking at that, sophomore season and saying, where do we look at him when his hand was healthy and where do we look at him when his hand was hurt? And let's not value his drops the same way, because if we just look at the statistics, he had a lot more drops in that period. And so let me just watch the Oklahoma State game and then say, seriously, okay, we can throw some of these stats out. If you just watch that game, why are they still throwing it to him? What is happening?
Yeah, keep throwing. And turns out Quinn had a messed up hand too. Remember,
two messed up hands.
He had a messed up, but Quinn had a messed up hand. Throw it to a dude with a messed up hand. It's like, stop this madness.
Gale force winds.
It's like, come on. That is Coach Steve. That's when I believe that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was one of my first times bringing up Coach Steven. One of them. It's like, no, this is Coach Steven, man. That's not Coach Sark. I love Coach Sark. Coach Sark is smarter than that. That was Coach Steven out there. I know the difference. Also keep this in mind. Good juju, because the Chiefs, it's something about Longhorn football players and them becoming Kansas City Chiefs that makes them excel, or at least it adds to their greatness. Derrick Johnson, all-time leading tackler with the Chiefs. Jamal Charles, all-time leading rusher with the Chiefs. And Priest Holmes, all-time most rushing touchdowns with the Chiefs. Shout out to my man Anthony Geronimo for I got those stats from him via Twitter. But yeah, not Xavier Worthy. Where's he going to be? Can he get an all-time leading receiver with the Chiefs? Now he probably won't break Travis Kelce's record anytime soon. But still, I'm assuming Travis Kelce has those records. But hell, it could be Tony Gonzalez could have some of those records. I mean, they got
That's
some
true.
in Chiefs history.
Yeah,
you think about that.
No, that'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm sure he'll have some record of. He's got to beat Tyreek Hills. He's got to play long enough to just knock out Tyreek Hills like deep passes and those threats. Once he passes Tyreek Hill, though, then he's in pretty good company.
He is in pretty good company. Okay, real quick, Byron Murphy going to the Seattle Seahawks. I thought this was also a perfect location. It's a perfect place, a landing spot for Byron Murphy. First of all, Mike McDonald, he's the new head coach there, and he is a defensive guru at the college level from what he did in Michigan, even at the NFL level from his time at Baltimore. And if he is choosing basically Byron Murphy to be his linchpin that he builds this defense around, then that is a really good sign for Byron Murphy. And it makes sense. You're in that division. You're going up against the Shanahan offense every year. You're going against Sean McVay's offense twice a year. You want to make sure that your defense is stout, and he's a defensive guy, and he's going to start building and constructing his defense, his vision of it around Byron Murphy. So that's a hell of a career arc for Byron Murphy, who started out as a 3-star guy in most recruiting services and worked himself into being not only a first-round draft pick, but a guy who's a freak at the NFL Combine. So for a guy who, think about it, if you're a 3-star, that means you don't have a ton of upside, a huge upside. You wouldn't even consider a blue chip guy. And yet when he gets to Texas, he works, he grinds, becomes a weight room fanatic, and turns himself into being one of the freakiest athletes in college football. And then one of the obviously a first-round pick, one of the most impactful and high-level players in college football. And that's a testimony to how his work ethic and how good it is.
Yeah, no, I mean the moves he's picked up, his progression, and if you're an NFL team, you have to look at Byron Murphy and think we're scratching the surface still. He has continued to progress. There's no reason to believe we have reached the top now. He can keep growing and growing, and if you can turn him into one of those, key pieces of a defense that comes in that there's not that many guys that can do it in the league. And if you get one of those pieces, it's a great piece to build around on your defense.
Yeah, there's no question about that. All right, we'll get to the break here. Behind the Burn Orange Curtain next segment and talking some ball. I'm actually going to leave prematurely. I got some things that I got to do. So my man Patrick and I believe my man Ty
is here, yes.
going to sit in too. Good to see Ty. Good to hear from Ty on the airways coming back. So don't go anywhere. I'm sure they're talking a lot of NFL draft. They'll be talking, of course, some Longhorn football as well. And we'll come back and cover all the bases for you right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis here. Austin is a great city, aside from the traffic. But even if you are dealing with the traffic right now, you still have to appreciate Austin for all of the different reasons that make it such a great city. The food's great, the people are great, the music's fantastic, even the iconic landmarks around town that make this city so unique. And that actually is because of our good friends over at Ironworkers, Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks you see right now that you're probably driving by are stuck in traffic. Near right now actually were built and constructed by the hands and the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local 482, the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium, for example. And right now they're constructing another big project right here in Central Texas, and they need your help. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They're even offering training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So if you're thinking about an exciting employment opportunity or a refreshing career change, or maybe you want to feel valued by your employer, or you want a new challenge, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local 482. Right now, it's a perfect time for you to reach out, and you can become a member of this prestigious organization and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that help shape the future of our great city. So go online and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org.
Back on the Rodcast here on a Friday morning, talking draft all day long here on the Rodcast. We just talked a little bit about the Longhorns who have already been drafted. We're going to get into some conversation about the Longhorns who have yet to be drafted, especially A.D. Mitchell. I think that conversation should be had of somebody that we're hoping was going to be a first-round pick, doesn't end up becoming a first-round pick, but there's hope that he's going to be the first pick taken in the second round. But we'll get into that. Do want to bring on my man Ty Henderson back joining the Rodcast. Rod had to step out a little bit early tonight to tell how much sleep I got last night after that. So tonight, this morning, he had to step out a little bit early, so Ty is going to be joining me for the rest of the show. Ty, appreciate you jumping in with us.
It's good to be back on the airwaves.
Yeah, get you back on. But we know. Let me get your first opinions first of the two picks that did come in the first round. Byron Murphy going at 16, Xavier Worthy going at 28. What are your takeaways? Are those both picks that you enjoy? Or you think that they're going to end up doing well there?
I think both those guys went exactly where most people expected them to. For Byron Murphy in Seattle, they've had issues on their interior offensive line or defensive line and their defense in general for the past 3 or 4 seasons. So I think he will be a huge help in the middle for them. And then Xavier Worthy, I think it's just a match made in heaven with Patrick Mahomes. That's the closest thing that we've seen into the league, the Tyreek Hill in years. So I'm really happy for both of them. I think it's going to work out really well.
I do too. I think they're both going to be good matchups. But let's go into the players not taken yet, the players that will be taken over the next 2 days. And we'll start off with the guy who was projected to go in the first round by most mock drafts. A lot of people had him going ahead of Xavier Worthy until the later mock drafts. Xavier Worthy kind of jumped ahead of him there at the end in the mock drafts. People started to say, there was reports of Xavier Worthy going all the way up to 15 with the Colts. I don't think that was going to happen once there was no defensive players taken at pick 15. I think the Colts realized it might be a bit of a reach now to take Xavier Worthy and keep the picks going. We could take the number one, like any defender we want, we can take right now at 15, and then with Latu at that pick. But then we assumed that A.D. Mitchell was going to go to the Bills. That was where we've seen him mocked a ton. He kind of fits into that mold. It's a guy that you feel can do well for you in red zone, can work well with the Josh Allen. That was what a lot of us predicting. They trade completely out of the first round. So there's still hope that he goes first pick of the second round because that is where the Bills now sit, that they feel they can get him. But this is a weird pick for that A.D. Mitchell. I know there's a lot of reports before the draft. There were some that, every Longhorn player was saying was not true. There was reports that Rod and I could not substantiate, and we never heard that he had issues with blood sugar and that he was uncoachable before lunch and all this other stuff. Was that he had attitude problems at points. Those are all the reports. And the question is now, did those reports get around enough, and did enough people believe that A.D. Mitchell maybe wasn't the guy, or is it that people did not want to draft him to be a number 2, feeling he wasn't going to put in the effort because we saw on tape that there was a lot of times, and he did better at the end of the season, that he wouldn't necessarily go all out on plays that were not going his direction. If the play's going to the right side and he's on the left, he's going to kind of take that play off a little bit. He'd run the beginning of the route and then give up on it, which you don't want to see when you're trying to pull safeties and when you're trying to do everything, especially at NFL level. And, if you're talking about teams with mobile quarterbacks, you have to keep moving because you have to be able to try and get yourself open. Do you think it was more a situation of that, or the flip of that, which is more what I believe, is that A.D. Mitchell's really, really good, but I don't know if he's the dynamic type of player like an Xavier Legette, where you say this guy could be really, really next level. We think that he could be this special talent that we could put into a role and he could do that. Or Ricky Pearsall, where you think we can put him into a role and he will fit that role perfectly. A.D. Mitchell does what he does, but I don't know if he's going to fit into that role as well as he's just going to go out there and play football at a really high level.
I mean, some of these guys, we saw it all year with A.D. Mitchell and run plays, like you said. The effort sometimes is questionable, but from what I saw last year playing for the University of Texas, I liked A.D. Mitchell to go over Xavier Worthy.
I know, and that's especially red zone, and when you talk about how important touchdowns are and be able to get open in those, his size, everything about him, it would make you believe that he's the guy that should go ahead of it. I just feel that in the draft, and we saw this with, and we'll get into this in the 9 o'clock because Rod and I have already yelled enough about it, but I'll yell about it with you too, about Michael Penix Jr. and 6 quarterbacks going in the first 12 picks, that people are willing to take a shot on somebody they feel can be a game changer. And I don't know if anybody felt A.D. Mitchell was a game changer. They feel he's a wide receiver. Like, I think they feel he's Stephon Diggs. And like that, where you go, Stephon Diggs is really good, but he's been traded twice in his career. Or a Brandon Cooks, who's really good, but he's been traded 3-4 times in his career. Those guys, I think they feel A.D. Mitchell is more of that, which it's silly to still not draft that in the first round. But all these general managers are so focused on, I have to get the guy who has a superhero power instead of this guy who's just really, really good at football.
Well, that's part of the reason why I think the hit rate on receivers in the first round is so low.
Yeah.
It's because they look at the combine and those, physical numbers, physical traits more than other positions. We see the best receiver in the league right now, Justin Jefferson. He was a first round pick, but Devontae Adams, who else?
Cooper Kupp,
Puka Nacua last year. There's a ton of talent at that position later in the draft. So I like what the Bills did. They can still get their guy. I mean, he's been mocked to the Bills for months now. I don't think it's a surefire thing that he goes first pick in the second round, but
no, and I could see the Bills trading back again. I mean, it wouldn't. I don't think it's out of the question that first pick.
My point is, there's a lot of guys, and I think that at this point in the draft, it's a coin flip.
It is, and I think he's now by far the best wide receiver available. I know Ladd McConkey is up in that conversation. Some people like Ladd McConkey.
Nobody named Ladd needs to be drafted ahead of it.
But my point is, Ladd McConkey, I feel, is in the same boat as A.D. Mitchell. He's not an athletic freak. He's not a.
But A.D. Mitchell, what did he run in the 4? He ran
but I'm just saying, freak.
Okay,
he's an amazing athlete. He could beat any one of us. I'm not. But if you say, well, he was he runs a high 40, but he's not a 4.2 guy. And that's what you say, an athletic freak. And some of these other guys that were going ahead of him were fit roles where they just do things differently. And Eddie Mitchell is just all around a really great player. I think that's kind of what Ladd McConkey is too. I think I take Eddie Mitchell ahead of him. So I think he's still I have him as my number one wide receiver. I know people like Keon Coleman a lot too, but I still think he's the number one wide receiver. But if the Buffalo Bills get a call, and I don't know if they were talking to teams and they wanted to push, I'm still really curious if when Kansas City traded up,
who else was looking at Xavier Worthy?
If that was because the Jaguars were looking up because they wanted to get Xavier Legette, and they just said, someone called about Xavier, do you want to make a trade? I really want to know if that's the truth, because it's the best if it was. But they did trade. They traded away 2 picks, both for Xavier's, both wide receiver Xavier's. The Bills traded twice. It's a weird trivia.
If you can still get your guy, they obviously have a guy in mind. I think that was a great move.
I think it was good. I think they moved back. And if you do have any issues about or worries about his attitude or any of that, if you have any of those worries still around, you get him as a second round pick. Now there's less guaranteed money. There's less. You have an ability to break off sooner than if he was your first round pick. But they need a wide receiver so bad in Buffalo. I still think he's going to Buffalo, but.
One thing that I don't understand why you allow the one team that's been in your way the past 5 years in the Kansas City Chiefs to go get the guy that everybody around the league knew that's the guy they were going for, and they allowed them to trade up.
I get that. I feel like Buffalo knows that their window's closed.
So what are they going to do?
I don't know. I feel like they're on a different time scale than everybody. They don't have a wide receiver. I don't either, but they're not they're just had to let so many people go. I feel like they may be doing a hard reset. I think their coach is going to be gone after the season as well. And then you kind of start over with Josh Allen and try and not do a full reset, but the quicker reset, and you get more draft picks allows you to do a much quicker reset. But they had to let so many guys go. They need to fill out that roster so much. They just need all the draft capital they can get. And if the Chiefs are going to give it to you, you make that deal. I don't know if they think they're in that conversation now with the Bengals, with the Ravens, with the Texans, that we're then now the number 2 team still where we've been the last few years. I don't know if they feel that they traded Diggs. I think when you trade Diggs, that's you saying you lost Gabe Davis.
Issue. There was
I know, but you let Gabe Davis. You didn't keep Gabe Davis. Keep a wide receiver.
The Jaguars, they overpay. How many receivers are the Jaguars?
I get that. I'm saying I think Buffalo's making a good move. I think Buffalo realizes what we had put together wasn't good enough to beat the Chiefs. We have to reload, and the way we do that is to go through it. And maybe they didn't have Xavier Worthy as high on their board. Maybe they don't think the same thing. Maybe their scouting was, sure, take him. We don't have him as high. We like A.D. Mitchell. Y'all are crazy. We'll go get A.D. Mitchell in the second round. We think he's a better Texas wide receiver, and we'll get him later than y'all. That could be what the situation is. They're going down the board. Your next Longhorn that's probably going to be drafted, Jonathan Brooks. This feels like it's Dallas, right? This is Dallas all over it.
I saw a clip on Twitter right before I came in here, and it was of the Jones family at the press conference. They were asked about Jonathan Brooks, and the poker face that Jerry Jones had was probably one of the worst I've ever seen. It's very clear that that's probably the direction they're going to try to go here in the second round. I mean, do you think he could fall to the third round?
No. No, I don't, because I think he is the best running back on the board, and I don't think all running backs fall to the third.
So you think what? So that Cowboys pick is 57,
56, I believe.
56.
I believe he goes 56.
First running back off the board.
Yes, and I mean someone could go before him. And in the reality, the thing you run into the problem with is, does somebody trade up before him? I don't think anybody else knows what that injury history is the most. It feels like he's going to the Cowboys. It just feels like, and with no other running backs really in the way, I think other teams can wait and not trade up for it. It feels like he's going to be there. If he doesn't, I don't see him falling below them. So he's going to be 56 or above. You have to believe.
If he does go before the Cowboys are up, do you think they still go running back with that second pick?
Oh, I don't think they do. I think they go O-line in the second pick, and they'll take a running back in the third or fourth.
So double O-line. What, center or something like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they need it. They need a center. I think they would go O-line again. Just because they need that position really bad. And I know they need a running back really bad.
I mean, as a Cowboys fan,
I think they should go running back, but I think that they would go. I think they go O-line again, just based on, and they draft O-line really well, so that I think they know we can draft an O-lineman and we'll be looking.
They draft Tylers on the. Or
they do draft. Well, they drafted Smiths, and then they drafted Tylers. He does not get a break. Someone else always has Tyler Smith's name. Then we can go down, and then the question will be. If we go there, we've also seen T'Vondre Sweat's stock drop, and people are questioning T'Vondre Sweat more and more that he may drop. Christian Jones, we've seen his stock skyrocket. Does Christian Jones, when all these tackles are off the board and people still want offensive linemen, does Christian Jones go before Jonathan Brooks, or does Christian Jones go before T'Vondre Sweat? That's where it's looking more and more like that.
So you think Christian Jones could go in the second round?
I don't think he will, but we've seen mocks where he started to go up in the second round. I think he could go in the third round, which would be ahead of T'Vondre Sweat still. And I know people think T'Vondre Sweat could jump up. I still think he's going to be a great player. I don't necessarily have the character issue problems that other people do. I get why you would have those if you're an NFL team.
He's a class clown.
Yeah. But I personally, I'm not completely buying in that he's necessarily gone back into his partying ways and won't be there. And maybe it's the weight as well. I know that there's certain teams that get overly worried about the weight. And I was having this conversation. People would not get why people are so worried about the weight, because they're talking about, they're thinking about it of, well, no, he can keep it. They go, well, if he's 377 and then his body at 26, he starts to.
I'm experiencing that right now.
Yes. 25, 26, you just start to put on more weight. And if he's not really conscious about it, he could go down and it could get really, really bad. And he could be 390, 400. And then you can't stay on the field and you can't do anything. And so you're basically just throwing that pick away. So I think that he's
never really had issues with his motor, though.
No, I don't think so. But when you get to be 400 pounds, you do. And he's not that far away from that. And that's the issue, is if you have a 400 pounder on the line, what can he do? And maybe he's the special freak that can do that. But that's the question you asked for T'Vondre Sweat. Jalen Ford, I've seen him mock to the Texans in some 7-round mock drafts. I would love to see that as well. Jordan Whittington, not sure he's going to be picked, but it'll be a fun one.
Jordan Whittington feels like he could be one of those Patriots day 3 guys.
It could be. And I think he could go 6, or just a great culture guy. Keelan Robinson, also one that we've seen pop into some boards with the new.
That one's the one I don't understand.
Well, but that one, I think with the new kickoff rules, is someone that you have to watch out for as well. If teams start to try and pick, which I think another deal with that Xavier Legette, and I think some of these other guys, it's about the kick return rules now, that guys are thinking more about that kickoff, that they're trying to figure out a way to make that work for them. And, you get a guy who has returned kicks at a high level and return punts at a high level. You may want to bring them in and see what they can do and use them in different ways.
With Legette, he only had one good season. That was my, if we're talking the biggest surprises from last night.
I get that. I would not have, I had him much lower than A.D. Mitchell.
He was a boss last year for South
yeah.
Carolina with Spencer Rattler, good coach there, but it's I'm not taking a guy that had one great year. If I was them, I would take A.D. Mitchell, who's won a national championship, played in college football playoff for 2 teams.
Yeah, who's been consistently good throughout his entire career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, consistently lazy as well, though.
That's true. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll come back. We will get into Off the Record when we come back here on the Rodcast. Rob Avery stepping out early. I'm Patrick Davis. Ty Henderson joining me here on the Horn. All right, we're up against it, so I'll be quick here on Off the Record. I did see this story that came out that there is somebody looking for a way to make a quick grand.
Are we all?
And this is so if you fall into this category, if you fall into the ability to get this money, it's all you gotta do is watch 9 movies. And just watch 9 movies in a row. Finance Buzz that they are trying to celebrate Star Wars Day, which is coming up next week. May the 4th is Star Wars Day. So they want to find somebody who has never watched any Star Wars movies and have them watch all of them and review them from scratch. Never watch a single one, all 9 movies.
My girlfriend never has.
Never has. She can win. She can do this. She can. Now, how much could you lie well enough to say that you never have and just be like, Luke, who? I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking. There's robots?
I don't think I've ever met a male my age that hasn't seen at least one. You know, I mean, those are my favorite movies growing up. I saw
they were my favorite. I've definitely seen them. I haven't seen all 9.
I had a stepdad that collected the action figures, but would keep them in the cases still.
In the cases.
So as a little kid, all I wanted to do was rip them out and play with them, and he was like, no, like he was obsessive about it. Still is. You know, it's pretty funny. But I still remember seeing episode 1, which is probably the worst. The one with young Anakin.
Yeah, the one with Jar Jar Binks.
Very racist Jar Jar Binks. Yes. But I mean, great series. I haven't gotten as much into the newest trilogy. Did you? I didn't even watch.
I don't think I watched any of the. Maybe it. No, I don't think
I definitely saw at least one of them.
I don't think I watched any of them,
but they just didn't capture my attention. Like
no,
the old
I don't think I've watched 5 of the movies. I think 5 of 9. I think I've watched.
Really, you haven't seen the original 6?
No, I saw the original 3.
Oh, the original 3.
So I'm old enough that there's original 3.
I still consider that
I was an adult when the second one came out, so I did not watch it.
Okay, but
and then the third one I went with my friend's kid.
Did George Lucas didn't? He had like a hand on the last 3, but he didn't. It was someone else. Right?
I think so. I think they'd sold enough of it that it wasn't completely him. But no, I just not which. Let me know on the text line. I want to know this on the text line. We'll throw this in with our big fat poll. If any of you have not seen any of the 9 Star Wars movies, and how you have not done that. But if there's a film franchise that you think everyone has seen at least one piece of, like Ghostbusters, I don't know if there's enough people who haven't seen Ghostbusters, but
how many Ghostbusters are there?
Well, now there's like 5.
Well, there's the ladies one.
6? I was saying like
I thought there was like one.
I think canonically there's only like 5 though, right? I don't know if Ladies Ghostbusters fits in.
God, that's part of the franchise.
I don't know, but it's part of the franchise, but I don't know if it's like canonically in
I see what you're saying.
The Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray. Canonically,
what does that mean?
It means it's part of the canon.
What?
It means it's part of it all. There's this story like in Star Wars. There's canon for Star Wars, and then there's like books and stuff, and some of the books are canon, and then some like in comic books, it's the thing that like is Spider-Man dead or alive, and which ones are part of it, and which ones are canon. That kind of thing. Because then someone will just write a Spider-Man book, and they'll be like, "Well, that's not." That doesn't fit in. It's a different story, completely.
Different universe.
Same, yeah, that kind of stuff. Let us know on the text line 512-447-3776. Since Rod's out, you know what? I'll tell you, we'll go back. I'll do more of what I did in the sports complex. I'll try and respond to more of your texts here in the 9 o'clock hour. Ty and myself will be going into it. We'll talk more about the Michael Penix draft. 6 quarterbacks going in the first round. In the first 12 picks, we will talk about that. We'll get a little more draft coverage. Maybe we'll slip in. Maybe we'll slip in a little NBA talk as well. We haven't got any NBA talk. It is the playoffs. We may slip that in as well. We come back here on the Horn, on the Rodcast, with myself, Patrick Davis. Rob Babers stepped out a little early, so Mr. Ty Henderson is stepping in for him here on the Horn, 1019 AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Back on the Rodcast here on the Horn on a Friday morning. That means it's a 5-1-2 Friday where we play local music. You can go check out around town this weekend. This right here is the Black Angels. They're part of Psych Fest. It's happening all weekend long at a Far Out Lounge. There are a couple different clubs, but they're going to be playing Saturday at the Far Out Lounge. But if you enjoy psychedelics and psychedelic music and all of that good vibes that you can get, Black Angels are going to be an awesome band to go check out there. At the Psych Fest happening, Austin Psych Fest happening at Far Out Lounge is going to be where the main show is going to be happening. Lots of good bands on that bill. You can go check out there. Patrick Davis here. Rob Babers had to step out a little bit early here on the Rodcast, so I'm taking over for the last hour, along with my man Ty Henderson joining me. Appreciate Ty coming in to join us. We're going to talk a little bit more about the draft. We'll get back into 6 quarterbacks taking the first 12 picks. A little bit more of the coverage there about what was happening and why teams were going to do that. We have a Rangers report coming up for you. Enjoy having my man Ty to talk some Rangers because me and Rod talk about it. It devolves into Astros talk a lot. Be honest, it devolves into Astros talk.
What do y'all have to talk about the Astros?
We're bad, man.
I know.
We're bad. But so we'll talk some Rangers. Rangers are at 500 right now, destroying the Astros at 500.
With half our roster injured.
Yeah. I mean,
guys are coming back, though.
Like the Astros got like 4 or 5 guys injured on the pitching staff.
Well, we had Verlander.
Verlander just came back. Verlander, he pitched last night, and they couldn't get any runs. But we'll get into that as well. We'll talk a little NBA next segment as well. And the text line's open 512-447-3776 is the text line number. I'm going to try and get to some more of these texts here in this hour. Big fat poll of the day today. Who was the biggest steal of the first round? If you have an opinion on that one, the easy choices: Quentin Mitchell at 22, the best defensive back in the draft, dropping to 22 to the Eagles. Of course, the Eagles get that pick. Of course, the Eagles back into the best player in the position once again. They follow that one. Terrion Arnold, 24 to the Lions. They trade up with the Cowboys to get that. Also considered one of the best defensive backs at 24. You would say Byron Murphy at 16. When you say it's the second best defender, some people say the best defender off the board. Dallas Turner at 17, another one that people said was the best defender on the board, both falling out of the top 10, falling down past 15. Could be value picks for you. Some people like Brock Bowers on our text line. We had some Brock Bowers people. I didn't put Brock Bowers on my list simply because they drafted Mayer early in the second round last year, and he was the first tight end off the board last year. They took the first tight end off the board 2 years in a row. And that's
pretty Raiders of them.
It's very Raiders of them. So I did not put him on that list. But Brock Bowers could be, because Brock Bowers fallen to 13. If you say what the talent he was and what he would have been in a lot of other drafts and where he could have been. But in this one, because it was just so quarterback and wide receiver heavy in the early rounds, it's a pick. And then also, if you have any movie franchises, we were just talking about that. If there's any movie franchise, if anyone has not seen all this, any Star Wars, not all, no, but I've not seen all of them, not seen any, never seen any Star Wars movie. I want to know that. And then if you have any movie franchises that everyone's had to have seen at least one of. Somebody says, no, they've never seen the Fast and the Furious franchise. Not one of them.
Same here.
Not seen one. I feel like I've seen pieces of them at least. I've been at a bar they've been on or something.
I don't
like
understand that one. The people that I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but that franchise, weak in my opinion.
Weak in your opinion.
I don't like cars in general either. Like, you know,
you're not a car guy. So
I've said it before. I've driven a Prius.
I don't know how much the cars are a part of. Like the stuff I've seen, there's like
we're going faster. Though.
No, but I like it's car chases and stuff. But then they're just blowing stuff up. It's just
it's very cheesy.
It's very cheesy. It's about family.
I mean, I have friends that love them. And I don't understand it.
Someone else, random texter 69 said that everyone must have seen a Die Hard movie by now.
Of course.
I think most people have seen it. The big difference is I don't think a lot of kids have seen Die Hard. I think a lot of kids have seen Star Wars.
The new, I don't know.
Just a Star Wars movie. Just a Star. I mean, they sell a huge amount of kids' toys for Star Wars, and they're not all for adults.
Yeah, and there's the TV shows, the animated series, stuff like that. They've done a good job of integrating the newer generation.
No, I will still always, it will always blow my mind. And it's such a study of what you can do with marketing and how you change things, that when I was growing up, if you like Star Wars, you were a nerd, you were the dork, you got bullied. And then some point it switched, and I know when it was, is when Disney bought it, because they made a collective effort to make Star Wars that if you don't like Star Wars, that you're a jerk and you're an idiot and that you get bullied. And so when I'm like, oh, Star Wars is cool. I've seen a few of them. It's not my, I'm not a huge sci-fi guy. So, and they're like, what? You don't like Star? What's wrong with you? And so it's just amazing marketing that somewhere along the line, it completely flipped to where now if you try and talk bad about Star Wars, you're the jerk.
That's a good point.
And it was not that way when I was growing up, at all. It was not that way. So it's just an interesting thing that Disney was able to pull off. It shows you the power of what Disney can do. Let's go into, I'll tell you what, we'll do Horn headlines first, and then we will get into talking about the draft. And text lines open, we told you, 512-447-3776. But let's get to the Horn headlines. Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas softball got the win over Nichols yesterday, riding a 7-run first inning to a 10-3 victory. Reese Atwood failed to get an RBI in the game, so she will look to set the single-season RBI record for Texas this weekend against Iowa State, with games starting tonight. Texas baseball will travel to Norman this weekend to face the number 18 Oklahoma Sooners. Texas is currently 3 games behind the Big 12 leading Sooners in the conference standings. Will look to make up that ground and avenge a sweep in Austin last season. In the NFL draft, a record 23 offensive players were drafted in the first round, including 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks. The first defensive player was not selected until pick 15. Texas ended the first round with two players drafted, with Byron Murphy going 16th overall to the Seattle Seahawks and Xavier Worthy going at 28th overall to Kansas City Chiefs. The Cowboys were able to trade back to pick 29, where they selected Oklahoma offensive tackle Tyler Guyton. The biggest shocker of the first round came with the Atlanta Falcons selecting Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th pick after signing Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million deal in the offseason. Rounds 2 and 3 will start tonight at 6 p.m. In the NBA, the Orlando Magic picked up the first win of the series, dominating the Cavs 121-83, while the 76ers were able to get a win over the Knicks behind Joel Embiid's 50-point outing. And the Nuggets all but sealed the victory in the series against the Lakers, winning Game 3, 112-105 to take commanding 3-0 series lead. Tonight, the Bucks will take on the Pacers with Giannis once again, a game-time decision. The Mavs will look to hold home court against the Clippers and the Suns and will try to stave off the Timberwolves, taking a 3-0 series lead. In Major League Baseball, the Astros could not get the hits to capitalize on a Verlander start and lost the Cubs 3-1, and the Rangers were topped by the Mariners 4-3, who with the win took over the lead in the AL West. The Rangers begin their series with the Reds tonight, with pregame beginning at 6:30 right here on the Horn, and that is your Horn headlines. All right, let's get into a little NFL draft talk. Ty, I know you were not here earlier when Rod and I had a spirited discussion about the Michael Penix Jr. pick at pick 8. That is the most surprising pick of the draft. Look, 12 picks go, 6 quarterbacks. That's hugely surprising. J.J. McCarthy, I think we knew was going to be drafted higher. He started to slip, and it made you wonder, because when J.J. McCarthy wasn't 4 and then wasn't 5, he started to say, okay, maybe there's something going on, that with all this, the hoopla about the quarterbacks is off. And, he doesn't get picked. And then before J.J. McCarthy gets picked, Michael Penix Jr. goes at 8. So he drops out of that 4, 5, 6, 7. We get to 8, Michael Penix Jr., and that is where the quarterback run really, really got out of hand. Michael Penix Jr. goes 8. J.J. McCarthy goes 10th. Bo Nix goes 12th, and you get 6 quarterbacks taken there. We went over this earlier. Rod had a point that basically that the Falcons are at least trying to do something to fit a model that has worked in the past. It is a copycat league, and the teams are trying to figure out a way. We have audio of the Falcons saying why what they wanted to do. This is the Falcons general manager, or actually, I believe it's Raheem Morris, the coach, saying what one of their thoughts was in drafting Michael Penix Jr. at 8th overall.
Green Bay model was something that we talked about, and it's been proven to be right last year. So hopefully we'll be right with them.
So he says it's the Green Bay model. That is what they were looking at. They wanted to get another quarterback. They have Kirk Cousins, who they don't tell that they're drafting a quarterback, who they must have thought Michael Penix Jr. was going to fall to them at 8. They had to know he was going to be there at 8.
Everybody knew. I mean, he was projected to go in the second
round.
round.
I know there was other teams that were saying they were going to trade up for him. There was apparently other people making phone calls trying to get up to get him. So somebody wanted Michael Penix. He was apparently somebody that a lot of teams like. Seattle was one of those teams. That's not surprising, as they have the offensive coordinator from Washington is now in Seattle.
That would make
He's
sense.
From Washington. Though. It does. It doesn't make sense that they traded up for him. But if they took him at 16, where they took Byron Murphy, that would have made plenty of sense. But they don't. They say they're doing this. I don't buy it. I'm not into it. I don't get it. I don't get signing Kirk Cousins. If you know you have the 8th pick, you know there's multiple quarterbacks in this draft. You know you can get one of those quarterbacks. If you want to go that route, I get you're saying we're building for the future now. I do not get trying to leverage your future and say we're going to take another quarterback instead of trying to build this team where we have weapons. We never used them. We've never used any of these weapons yet, but we think we have them. We think Kirk Cousins is going to be good. We think our defense can be good under Raheem Morris, but we don't know yet. We think that our offense will do all right. We don't necessarily know that we have all these pieces. We're in a bad division, so we can look better in it, even though we're not necessarily better, and then get blown out in the playoffs. I don't get this. I just don't get taking someone that early, because the whole thing about the Green Bay method, the whole Packers method thing, is value for the quarterback. Is them waiting year after year in the draft, and when the player gets available, when an Aaron Rodgers falls, and you say, okay, we can go get Aaron Rodgers now, and we can go get a guy that we had high on our board. We had Aaron Rodgers as a top 15 quarterback. We can get him. We think our odds of this working out are 50%. 50%. That's really high at a quarterback. 50%.
What is working out though for you?
Not as well as he did. I think working out is earning a second contract.
Okay.
I won't say being great. I'll just say working out is like Dak Prescott's working out. And Dak almost second MVP, and that's maybe sliding him a bit. But I'd say working out for me is somebody making it to the second contract, somebody being a part of your team where you say, this is our starter, someone that we can call a franchise quarterback. And I know Daniel Jones been to a second contract. We're not going to say he worked out. But I think if you said, this guy's going to be our quarterback for a while, and for when you take Aaron Rodgers, say that guy 50% chance that he's going to be able to play quarterback for us, and we don't have to go out in the draft. We don't have to cut him. We don't have to sign somebody else. We're not benching him. And when you see Jordan Love come up, they say, okay, I think we have a 40% chance. Like pick Twig Penny, we have like a 40% chance this is going to work out. And so far it has. Michael Penix Jr., this is like a 10% chance this works. And maybe if your scouting's really great, it's a 20% chance. And if you think he's the greatest quarterback, and oh my God, I don't know why you took Caleb Williams at 1. Michael Penix Jr. is by far the best quarterback who has ever come out in a draft. It's a 30% chance of it working. And I think if you take a quarterback later in the second, third round, and you go back and even take a Spencer Rattler, your odds are like 15 to 20%. They're not that much worse of the quarterback working out. Plus, you're not so pot committed on him. Plus, you're not holding him back the same year you draft Kirk Cousins and piss off the quarterback you just got. And again, he plays well. Take that for data, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. And what did he say? The what do you think about that? Was that his yell?
Who?
Kirk Cousins.
Oh,
can't remember what he yelled.
You like that?
You like that was his yell. You like that. All of that you can put into it, but I just don't see any value in doing this. But that's what the Falcons keep doing, and that's why I don't believe in it. If this was a smart franchise who made good picks, I might look at it and think, you guys really did it. But the Falcons consistently reach on picks. And look, I love Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson was a top 10 talent. Running backs don't go that early.
That's fact. What bothers me most about the pick is the schematic from that perspective. Is I don't think Penix fits at least what Raheem Mostert. He's a defensive coach, but he's been a part of those West Coast teams. Run first in Washington, he was. Yeah, and I mean
it's a guy from the McVay system that is going to be the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, so that doesn't make sense. What you mentioned Seattle earlier being interested, that would have made perfect sense. With but beyond the point of his former OC being in Seattle now, Geno Smith, that's probably the number one comparison I see to Michael Penix. It's a gunslinger, get it down the field. What I haven't liked Michael Penix since his throwing motion just throws me off.
It does, and look, and I get, and we say a lot about Michael Penix being older. He's turned 24, which is older if you do not expect to start him for 3 years.
Yeah, but we talked about during the break. I got an update from Bleacher Report that said that the Falcons GM was quoted as saying that he might not play for 4 to 5 years.
Which that is a Kirk Cousins. That's complete BS. We all know that.
But that's still, even if there's any truth to that, that's pretty much the entirety of his rookie contract.
Yeah, no, it is.
It is.
And if he doesn't play for 4 years, and you have to pick up your 5th year option, and your 5th year option is now a pretty high pick, is a high number. And you also have to re-sign Kirk Cousins at that point because he's only got a 4-year deal. So it'd be really silly if he did not play for 4 years.
Well, Kirk Cousins would be 40 at that point.
Yeah. So I'm saying you're not, unless you draft someone else and someone else surpass him, and then why would he be playing again?
It's just weird. You had the opportunity to draft a number 1 defensive player on the board.
Yes, you did. Or You could draft another wide receiver to help out Kirk Cousins. Odunze was still on the board.
Yeah.
You could have taken him across from Drake London and built that offense and given him another weapon with Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson and said, we're actually going to use these instead of storing them on the shelf like we have been. We're actually going to use these guys and we're going to build. But now it looks like, now we're building for the future, Kirk. And we just need you to win a couple divisions, but we're really looking forward to a few years later when we got to start paying guys. And then all of a sudden, our window with Michael Penix starting and not being a giant quarterback. And you could say, well, maybe if he only starts 1 year, that next contract won't be that expensive. And if your game plan is maybe we can get Michael Penix when we don't know if he's the guy, look at what Chicago just had to do with Justin Fields. They could have got Justin Fields on a decent contract, but they didn't know if he was the franchise quarterback. And if you're not the franchise quarterback, they don't want to keep you at all.
And we can go back to Jordan Love, who's about to get paid based off half a season and a playoff win. Do you think they are 100% sure that he is the franchise quarterback?
No, but I think he's closer to it than
they're going to have to pay him this year.
They're going to have to pay him. I don't think they're going to pay him. I think he'll be closer to Daniel Jones money than other. I don't think he's going to make 70.
So you think he would go on a shorter term deal, like a 3-year deal?
I think he would go on like a 3-year deal around 40 to 45, maybe 50, which is still a lot, but that's what the quarterback market is going at. We can talk about CeeDee Lamb and how the wide receiver market right now is going crazy. And if you would have paid CeeDee Lamb 3 weeks ago, he'd already be the 4th highest paid wide receiver in the league.
But isn't your window's closed at that point? Because unless you have Patrick Mahomes, you need a quarterback that's on their rookie deal to realistically. I mean, what the percentages are?
Well, I get
the last 10 years.
You need to win a first Super Bowl basically with the quarterback on a rookie deal, and then you can continue to build on it and continue to win. I get that your window starts to close a little bit more. There's ways to do it. Just because a lot of franchises continue to make big swings and don't play the long game and don't play consistently, and like where the Falcons, where they say, well, we're playing the long game, you're like, but you're not playing the short game. You're not playing consistent. Like, you're not trying to build now and build later. Because that's what you do in the draft. You build for later rounds. They are building for later in the early rounds, and then you have to build for now in the later rounds. And those guys aren't ready to play. They're projects. Michael Penix Jr., one of the more finished products in the NFL draft, is the guy that you're saying you have to build. I don't know how much better he's expected to get in the next 2 or 3 years. I mean, he'll be better. It's more time to get used to the speed of the game. But if you're not in games, it just doesn't make any sense to me overall. If you throw in the Bo Nix trade or the Bo Nix pick, I get that one a little bit more because they need a quarterback, because their quarterback room was Jared Stidham, Zach Wilson, and Ben DiNucci. I get that they needed a quarterback.
Still, Bo Nix is not. We can both agree that he's not the guy.
I don't think he's the guy either, but I think Sean Payton understood I can't tank again and again and then draft a project quarterback next season, because even if you say Quinn Ewers has a baller season this year, wins the Heisman, Texas wins the national championship, he's a number 1 overall pick, he's not a starting quarterback day 1 in the NFL.
Yeah, but Quinn Ewers was a top 10 pick in this draft in retrospect.
He was a top 15 pick for sure.
You think Penix goes ahead of Ewers?
I think Bo Nix is more ready to play right now than Quinn Ewers. I think Quinn Ewers is a better down the road quarterback. I think Bo Nix, because of the age, because of the experience, is more easy to put in and start week 1. I think if you put Quinn Ewers in week 1, you're asking for disaster.
Where are you at if you said, okay, you start the year with Jared Stidham or Zach Wilson, you go 1-16. I think there's a good chance that you could go 1-16 with Bo Nix as your quarterback.
I think you could too, but
he's not better than Russell Wilson.
I get that. I get them at least taking the shot. Now, I think, again, you could have gone a later pick in the draft there as well, and it wouldn't have killed me either. Seems very much so. Sean Payton is fully in. Sean Payton is fully in his bag of when Sean Payton says things like, I wanted to take Patrick Mahomes, but they got after the pick before me. I never believe it when one guy says that he was the smart guy in the room, when somebody else tells me he was. When somebody else in that room says Sean Payton was, dude, he knew Patrick Mahomes. When somebody else tells me that, I'll believe it. When Sean Payton says it, it falls into the categories like Hulk Hogan, where Hulk Hogan says that he invented wrestling and he's the greatest thing ever. I don't, because I know you're selling yourself at this point. Denver paid you a lot of money, gave up picks to get you. I get you have to keep selling the fact to Denver fans, no, I am one of the greatest coaches of all time, and it wasn't a waste for you to do that. So I can turn Bo Nix, and I think Bo Nix is Patrick Mahomes' talent. Now, no one else believes that.
But do you not think Sean Payton's seat is hotter if this is just a complete flop?
I don't think his seat's hot for another 2 or 3 years because they're so pot committed. Now, maybe because they have all the money in the world, they're the Walmart people, that they don't care and they'll fire him and hire somebody else. But I think after the Nathaniel Hackett experiment, they're happy to have someone that at least can lie to them.
Well, that's what I'm saying is if I'm the Broncos front office and Sean Payton, I want to be 100% sure about the quarterback I'm taking in the first round.
I will. All right. So I want to leave on a positive before we finish this segment, though. Okay. So I do want to say positive things. I do get on the Cowboys a lot. That I do. I like the draft. I like their pick in the first round. I like them moving back. I like that was a solid move. That the offensive linemen that you thought that you had higher on your board, you were not there. You moved back into the later in the first round. You probably could have moved back in the second, but it was going to be way riskier to do. Someone else could have swiped in and taken Guyton, who was kind of one of your favorite guys. They have scouted offensive linemen really well and picked guys really well. So I have faith in Will McClay and that organization and who they pick at offensive line, especially. So I think I really liked when they traded back. That was one of those moves that I thought they really needed to do. I was happy with them doing that. And then I'm thrilled with the fact that they were able to go and still get their guy and not make that trade back and get screwed with it. If we remember a few years back, I think it was Andre Dillard was the guy that all the reports were that was who they wanted. And the Eagles swooped in and traded up and took in the pick before. That did not happen. So hats off to the Cowboys. I like that pick. Are you on board with that pick?
Yeah, I like it. It fills a position of need, and I like the trade because if you're going after Jonathan Brooks in the second round, a running back, I still think that's early. I want him to make that pick, but now that you have that extra third round pick, you can kind of supplement your need to go after a running back so early.
All right, well, why don't we take a break? We'll come back. We'll get to the text line. We'll get to some NBA as well. Talk a little bit about the Mavs game coming up. Actually, before we go to break, I always forget about this, but let's hit our Rangers report since we have Ty here. Let's hit our Rangers report and talk a little baseball before we go to the break. Let's hit that Rangers report.
The Rangers report is brought to you by Texas Truck and Trailer.
Rangers, we know they lost yesterday. They're coming back. They finally got over that 17-game straight stretch they had. They will get another game off on Monday. They start a series with the Reds. Ty, what do you have on the Rangers?
The bats are starting to come alive. Evan Carter, he was off to a slow start. He's had a few home runs in the past few games. That's what I like to see out of the young guys. Wyatt Langford's still coming along. Dolis Garcia,
having a season.
Early start of the season. He's picking up right where he left off in the World Series last year. Max Scherzer, he made a start for AAA Round Rock on Wednesday. Had 4 strikeouts in 3 innings. He's looking to make his return soon. No timeline yet on Josh Young's return from his broken wrist. He was set to get examined again this week. Hopefully we can get a date on that. Other than that, just getting the rotation right while some of these O'Malley's still hurt. Scherzer coming back. Obviously, you're probably not going to get DeGrom for another month or two, but I'm feeling good. 1 game under 500 after the first month of the season. The Astros sucking is making it a lot better. But no, I'm happy where the Rangers are at. I think they're in a good place, especially with a lot of these. Nathaniel Lowe came back this week, hit his first homer 2 nights ago. I like where we're at.
How have you liked Lorenzen? He's going to pitch on Saturday. You get Evaldi tonight. Lorenzen's played well, 2-0 in the season, 2.45 ERA. That pickup for y'all late there, that seemed really big when you guys weren't necessarily Rangers, not necessarily able to pick up all the pitchers that they wanted because of the salary cap, and they weren't sure what the whole TV rights deal made it so it was a little bit harder for them to go out and get whoever they wanted to get. Picking up Lorenzen, though, seems to be a really big coup, at least even if he just carries it through until Scherzer and DeGrom can get back. He seems like a huge addition that if he pitches this well for the rest of the season and you add in Scherzer and DeGrom with Evaldi, that's a heck of a playoff rotation of 4 guys right there. What have you seen from Lorenzen so far this season?
Just throwing strikes, good movement on the ball. I hope that he can emulate kind of what Jordan Montgomery did last year.
Yeah.
That part of the reason why you said we weren't able to re-sign him was because of the whole Valley Sports debacle.
Yeah.
Seeing him go to the Diamondbacks kind of sucks, but good for him. He got his money. But Lorenzen, like you said, he's off to a hot start. Let's see if he can, maintain. I don't expect him to have a 2.5 ERA all season. But
no, I know you don't expect them to have some other, but this is a Reds team that is not playing out of this world so far this season. They're still playing well, but they're not out of this world.
They're young.
They're young. So this is a team where if you want to see these guys step up and have a good series, appreciate that, Ty. The Rangers report here by our friends at Texas Truck and Trailer.
Oh, sorry. One last thing.
Oh, we got one more.
Rod, we did have a text. If Rod's listening out there, you still have to repay or pay for your World Series bet. Wear the luchador mask for an entire show. I'm not forgetting.
Is that what the bet? I thought the bet was the Go Stros. You couldn't say that during the off season.
Well, that was. But who says Go Stros during the off season?
Hell, Rod might.
Has he been saying Go Stros on the show?
He's hit now that he didn't until the season
No,
started.
the bet is he has to wear a luchador mask, which he's supposed to purchase himself, and then I get the luchador mask after he's done.
Oh, okay. I have a luchador mask.
Is it a Rangers mask?
It's not a Rangers mask.
Maybe we can meet in the middle there with just a regular luchador mask, but he has to wear it the entire show.
Yes, we're the entire show. Well, see, I'll pull it out and see if it fits his head. It's been on my giant head, so I don't know if he wants to wear it once it's been on my head. That's a Rangers Point brought to you by our friends at Texas Truck and Trailer.
The Rangers Report is brought to you by Texas Truck and Trailer, your premier truck accessory dealer.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We come back. We'll get to the text line, promise, 512-447-3776. We'll get a little NBA talk as well. Keeping it going here on a Friday. Getting closer. Man, it's almost a weekend time. I'm ready for it. All right, we'll come back here on the Rodcast here on the Horn. All right, Rod's out, so we will not be having Rod's rant of the day, but myself, Patrick Davis, is here. Ty Henderson joining me because Rod had to step out a little bit early today, so we will do our own ranting. And I do want to get to the text line. I don't get to play with you guys on the text line as much as I got to when I was doing the Sports Complex, so keep texting in 512-447-3776. Anything you want to hit in one of these last segments right here before we'll throw in a little NBA talk as well into this segment. But I know that you guys have been texting all show. We can't get to everybody all show because I can't go back that far, and I don't remember what you guys were talking about. Kind of what happens in my brain. You just keep moving. But we do have we did ask you, we were asking you about the if anybody had not seen any of Star Wars. We do apparently have some people. Daydrinker77 says 46 years old and never seen any part of Star Wars. I don't believe that from someone named Daydrinker. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I feel like you have been drunk and watched all of them. And there may be a drunk alter ego of you that is a big Star Wars fan.
I think they play all the Star Wars on Spike TV usually, right?
They play them over there. I'm sure that I've been in enough bars that just play movies in the background stuff, and
that's a day drinking channel.
That's a day drinking channel. Was it Spike? That was Spike. They're not Spike anymore, are they?
I don't think so.
No, when they were
that's the one.
TV for me.
It's like I almost made it out alive.
Oh, great stuff. We also have. Is Ty as happy as I am about the Lakers possibly getting swept?
Yes, of course.
I mean, who isn't happy? I mean, other than Lakers fans.
Well, they're delusional. It's the same as Cowboys fans, so I understand their pain a little bit.
I do have some good friends that are Lakers fans, and I pray for them every day. They find the way, but no, it is. This is one that it's not hugely surprising, but it is.
Did they really think that they were going to win the series? I mean,
no, I don't think anybody thought they were going to win the series. They've lost 11 straight games to the Nuggets, though.
Lakers fans.
Lakers have lost 11 straight games to the Nuggets. They're saying the odds of us not winning a game for 12 straight games, the odds of it are crazy.
They suck.
And they're not. The Nuggets are just really good, and they're a terrible matchup for the Lakers. But the Lakers actually played much better down the stretch of the season. They just don't match up well because AD plays better when you play against a team that doesn't have a dominant center on the other team.
Yeah, but I'd argue that they match up better than anyone else because they have AD.
I don't know, because I feel like if you're not having your guy wear down before the fourth quarter, by the fourth quarter, Jokic is still doing fine, chugging right along, and AD's disappeared in all these fourth quarters where the Lakers are kind of in the game until it comes down to clutch time, and then the Nuggets just have that championship pedigree.
Yeah, but if you're Anthony Davis and you're coming out in the media and saying that you're disrespected by the league and you'll never win it, they'll never give you a defensive player of the year, but you are every year.
I mean, we know Victor Wembanyama is defensive player of the year.
Yes, yes, of course. But you can't come out and say that and then get dominated and have time not even guard their best player.
I get that,
who plays your position.
No, and you also can't come out and say, we heard all them talking about us, them being the Lakers' daddy, and we have our own thoughts about that. And you're like, I have thoughts about stuff too. Doesn't mean I can do anything.
Or that's true or wrong. Yeah, no, I'm very happy about it. Watching LeBron's demise is great. I just saw a quote that he just says it's just basketball.
It's just basketball. I got a podcast, and we got to figure out where me and my son are going next year.
Do you think he's going to actually stay in the draft?
Yeah,
the dude averaged like 3 points a game.
No, but it doesn't matter. He's not going to get. I don't think he's going to go anywhere and then suddenly be better, and then be a top pick in the draft. Like, he's just not going to. He's going to be drafted because he's LeBron's son, no matter what. And the more time you spend, like, the weird thing about how players get drafted in the NBA, the more time you spend in college, if you don't become the guy,
you don't get drafted at all.
Then you're like, well, you're 22. We know what your ceiling is now. And you could be like a guy like Jericho Sims. If Jericho Sims left Texas after his freshman season, he would have been a first-round pick. He's a second-round pick. And look, he's a quality player for the Knicks when he's healthy. He's an okay player for them. But the reality was, if he would have left, because of the potential, an NBA draft past pick like 12 is all about potential. And you're just drafting guys that you're scouting and you think this guy could be great. That's why seniors don't get drafted as much once you get further down the draft, because you don't care about a guy that you know what they can be, unless you're a championship team and you need a Christian Brown that they get for the Nuggets, and he becomes a good role player for you. If you're looking for someone to be a star or a star role player for you, then you just want potential, and they'll always draft a young guy that they think they can mold into the space, and then they don't play him and don't coach him, and he doesn't become on his own this great player. But I think Bronny will still into the draft for sure. I don't see why he wouldn't.
Yeah, but what happens if the Orlando Magic draft him? Does LeBron go play for the Orlando Magic?
No. I also think that teams would probably reach out to LeBron's representation and be like, what are the odds that well, first of all, we know he's going to the Spurs. Brian's going to go to the Spurs. Steph Curry's going to the Spurs. LeBron's going to go to the Spurs. They win 2 more titles with those guys and rebuild around. It's not going to happen. But
hey, that Steph Curry's odds.
Steph Curry does. It's still weird that the odds if he does not stay with the Warriors, which he's going to stay with the Warriors most likely. The odds are that it would go. The Spurs are the first odds in betting odds. Let's go back to text sign. It says never watched The Godfathers all the way through. Yeah, but they're long. All the way through is a different story than we're not watching any of it. Those are long.
Those
movies.
are great films, though.
They are. They're just long. I get it. I'm ADD.
2's not very good though.
I'm ADD. I don't like sitting and watching things for long periods. I got to do like 3 things at once a lot of times.
Well, that's the main reason I still haven't seen Oppenheimer. So I can't. Yeah. I need to set aside 4 hours of my day.
I don't watch really any movies anymore. I just watch sports most of the time. It's pathetic. I watch like stand-up comedy and sports. It's pretty much what I watch.
It's fair. I watch a lot of Food Network. That's probably the only TV I watch.
Oh man, I can't. Too fat to watch Food Network.
It's making me fat.
Yeah, I can't. I'm too fat to watch it because I'll just watch it and then be like, "Oh, all of that." I can't. I don't need anything else to make me hungrier. As I said, I don't think Cousins is the type of player to throw a fit about mentoring a young guy while he's still on the field. The Packers' way is doing that, but their starters throwing a fit. I don't think that'll happen. I do think Kirk Cousins is not going to be liking the fact that he, for 5 weeks, thought he was a franchise guy in Atlanta until he was told yesterday when they were on the clock that we already drafted your replacement. And we haven't even seen you in a uniform yet. We haven't even gotten the tampering charges we're going to get for getting you. Yeah.
What happens to Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke?
Well, Desmond Ritter's already traded, right? I think Ridder was already traded. Taylor Heineke, though, he just falls further down that depth chart. Now, granted, he should still be ahead of Michael Penix week 1 because Michael Penix Jr. has to adjust to the league. I don't know if he's going to start week 1, depending on if where did Ridder go to?
The Cardinals.
Cardinals, yeah. But he was traded, yeah. But I think Heineke is the one who slips down. But Ridder, yeah, who cares?
I know. I'm not saying.
You know how bad Desmond Ridder was? They signed Kirk Cousins for $180 million and then drafted a quarterback at pick 8, the 4th quarterback in the draft at pick 8.
I think the injury. I've been thinking about it.
But that's Heineke. That's why you signed Heineke. Is the injury to Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, but if Kirk Cousins tears his Achilles, Aaron Rodgers style, game 1 again.
If he does, but I don't think. Yeah, I still don't get it. It says Major League Baseball has a salary cap, Patrick. I guess they do technically have a salary cap. What I meant was the Bally Sports problem that the Rangers just didn't have. They don't know how much money they're going to get from their local TV deal, so they could not spend the amount of money they thought they normally would. That was what I was trying to go to. I may have misspoke on that, but there is technically a salary cap in baseball. It's just not a cap. It's a soft cap. You have to pay luxury tax after you go over that cap. So there is technically one. They still call it a cap, even though there's no lid on the cap. It's more of a guideline.
Yeah, and the Mets have probably the highest payroll in baseball, and they suck.
They're always bad.
Money doesn't always translate.
And then the Rangers and Astros are just getting guys that are being partially paid but for the Mets right now.
Yeah, that's true.
But man, Chan, how to hear from you, Chan. Michael Penix is older and has many game experience. The Falcons are going to manage him and build the run game. I still don't see Michael Penix Jr. playing for at least 2 years because you're paying so much money to Kirk Cousins. But that's my.
Is there an out on that contract? How much money guaranteed is it?
So basically after 2 years you can get out and you'd only owe him $40 million more the next 2 years.
Over 2 years?
Over 2 years. So you'd owe him, I think, 30 the third year and then 10 the fourth year, I think is what it is. But it's roughly that. You pay him it's like $80 million in the first 2 years or something like that. It's you can get out of it after 2, 3 you can get out of it scot-free pretty much.
Yeah, but I'm with you. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. Channel says Ty Rod still needs to own up for his bet for the Rangers winning the World Series last season and make him wear a Rangers mask. So Chan's on your side there, Ty.
Thank you, Chan. You're right.
And yes, we get someone with the Coyote spinning a towel and saying the leakers hating the Lakers.
I'd still rather be a Lakers fan right now than a San Antonio Spurs fan.
Yeah, we have Victor Wembanyama, man.
Yeah, but
we got the most. They put a highlight reel out of Victor Wembanyama. The NBA did. It's over 2 hours, and it's awesome.
You watched the whole thing?
I've watched it like 3 times. Man.
Yeah, you got time to watch that, but you don't have time to watch movies.
I just put it on. You just put it on when you're doing other things, and you walk back in the room, and it's like Wembanyama. It's so much fun. As a Spurs fan, it hasn't been great.
I'm happy for you.
Let's hit real quick. I wanted to add a little bit. Let's talk a little Mavs before we get there, since we have you, Ty. Mavs are going up against the Clippers in Game 3. They tied the game on Tuesday. They get the tie in the series. Mavericks now going up against the Clippers. Can the Mavs get a 2-1 series lead going back to Dallas tonight?
I think so. Luka has picked it up defensively, especially in the last game. I think it was.
Yeah, when Luka when they gave him a technical after that play, and he it was just there was two different players. The refs missed the call against the Lakers, and they disappeared in the fourth quarter after that call. And then they call a technical on Luka for really not much. I'm guessing it was just a combination of everything he said that game. And then you could see him get mad and be like, really? All right, well, I'm going to go beat the Clippers then.
I need him to play like that all the time, though.
And the real question is going to be, can Kawhi Leonard start to hit his shot again? If Kawhi Leonard starts to get his offense going, it's going to spell problems, and they're going to need a special performance for 2 games here at home for the Mavericks. I'm really Kyrie Irving right now. If you're not watching Kyrie Irving right now playing basketball, you are missing out. He is so much fun to watch playing right now. He's so good right now, and I get it. I know all the Kyrie problems. I get all of that. But just as a basketball fan, watch Kyrie Irving play basketball, and the fact that he doesn't have to be the guy, and he
accepts that.
It's so much fun to watch.
He openly says this is Luka's team.
Yeah,
I think he's finally found a home in Dallas, and that's. I mean, I'm a little biased. I'm a Mavericks fan.
I think he's, as long as he's, if he keeps that up, you just have to say that he is fun to watch. One of the most skilled players in the NBA. Just his handles, his passing. IQ, it's so
shot making right now. He's making threes off the dribble, fading away. No,
little left-handed floaters.
Oh, that game winner he had against
he did it again in the Clippers game. All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back and wrap it up with Who Said That here, wrapping it up on the Rodcast on the Horn. Back on a 512 Friday here on the Rodcast. We play local music. You can go check out around town. This is Tomar and the FCs. Tomar, one of the most talented men you'll find around town. Tomar and the FCs playing Saturday at Continental Club. Always a great time to go check out my man Tomar and the FCs. It is time, Ty, where we get to the end of the show and we play a little game called Who Said That, where we play you a clip from someone around the sports world and we ask you to figure out who said that. So let's play a little Who Said That, Ty.
In my 30 years, I thought it was the best interview that I've ever interviewed with a player. He's outstanding. And he's just outstanding. And he's a great football player. We got him high. And he's a good player. It's on the board. Well, I got it.
We'll throw that there. That was, of course, Jerry Jones talking about Jonathan Brooks and really letting the cat out of the bag of who they like.
Yeah, no, that's probably not what you want to be talking about. Days.
No, I don't know if
draft,
anybody else is going to
draft.
trade up, but man, he is high on Jonathan Brooks.
You're giving the Eagles a really good reason to trade up one pick before you again.
Oh, don't do that. Backing up Saquon Barkley.
Oh. No, that's not going to happen. He's going to be a Cowboy today. He will be. I'm with Jerry.
That's what's happening. It's going to happen today. Jonathan Brooks going to head over to the Cowboys. He's good friends with Overshone.
Oh, Jerry.
Oh, Cowboys, don't ever change or do change. We'd appreciate that too. All right, we appreciate everybody playing along with us on the text line 512-447-3776. My man Ty Henderson coming in and filling in when Rob Babers had to drop out early. Rob Babers, the man himself, will be back on Monday to break down more of the NFL draft, more of the NBA playoffs, more Texas football as we get into the doldrums of college football season. But we will talk a lot of NFL draft next week. And appreciate all of you guys so much who tuned in all week long. Until we get to Monday, though, everybody out there, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean, and we will see you right back here on the Rodcast Monday morning, 6 a.m., right here on the Horn.